What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Boots and Shoots Unfiltered. Today we got an awesome dude, awesome guest. Had the privilege to serve with him a little bit in Afghanistan during the closeout. He's an author of this book called Tip of the Spear. You want to show it too, Chris? So you get a better right there. So yeah, Green Beret, really cool story. Doing some really cool things here over in Ukraine. I'll let him explain all that, but um, we are super excited to have him on here real quick to sit down and talk to us. And he's a busy man; he's got a lot of things going on. So having him to come on here means a lot to us, both me and Chris. And we consider him a good friend of ours. So, Chris, you got anything to talk about before we kick it off?
No, I just want to, again, publicly this time say thank you, Ryan, for taking the time to come over and speak with us. It's an honor. Really enjoyed having you be part of the team with us there in Afghanistan. And the fact that you took time out of your busy schedule, and anybody that knows you knows how busy that schedule is, to come on our meager little podcast. Really appreciate it and looking forward to hearing you talk.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, from our deployment together in Afghanistan, I mean, I know kind of how the chain of command went when we were active duty. But well, you still are, Chris. But when we were all active duty, chain of command. But I always considered you guys my friends and mentors. I learned a lot from both you guys, and so no, I really wanted to come on here because I look at it more as we're friends, and it's been too long. We need to catch up more often than this. So
We do.
Yeah. So what are you up to now, Ryan? What no, if you could just do a quick little intro of who you are, what you came from, and what you're up to now, if you don't mind.
yeah, absolutely. So again, you guys already said it. Ryan Hendrickson. I'll go quickly all the way back, all the way to where we are now. But yeah, I'm from a small town outside of Eugene, Oregon. Very few people in my area joined the military. It's Eugene, Oregon. In the '90s, they were more into Kurt Cobain and stuff like that than the military. But I joined the military. Loved it. 23 years in the military, 3 branches of service, and ended up retiring out of 7th Special Forces Group and stayed in Northwest Florida. After I retired, I became a contractor for Khaki Wexford, and that's when I was able to serve with both Chris and Jerry on the 2021 trip, where eventually, I mean, you guys still stayed in country. I ended up leaving about the first couple days in July. Or yeah, I think first couple days in July, maybe the end of June. But I remember trying to rush home by the 4th of July, and I
Mhm.
do not think I made it. Um, but yeah, and that's when we got to serve together, closing down the different fire bases, Fob Dwyer. I know we helped with New Antioch. Is
Mhm.
Yes.
that or no?
Yes.
Okay,
No
New
answer.
Yep.
Antioch. Did a little bit at CAF or Kandahar Airfield, and then but closing down Dwyer was a major muscle movement because of I'll just say the facilities at Dwyer and the capabilities at Dwyer, and we'll just kind of leave it at that. So it was a major muscle movement that you guys were in charge of, and yeah, we did it,
Yeah.
and it was, and then once Bagram was closing down, you guys moved forward to the airfield there at HKIA, and I went home.
Yeah.
So, but it was for what the trip was, and my humble opinion, as heartbreaking as it was, for me watching, Taliban flags fly freely in the country when, you know, all of us have quite a bit of history there. It was a really rough go for me, mentally. Yeah, I I definitely struggled mentally that trip, and I was able to look to you two because I know both of you have a ton of experience in that country. And so if I was struggling, then I knew you guys had to have your own opinions and your feelings as well. But you were able to, you know, you also had a job to do and you had troops that were looking up to you. And so, you know, it was really, it was amazing to see because I knew you guys had to have some sort of feelings because you've lost friends in over the years that you've been there. And you were able to put all that aside because you had to lead troops in one of the biggest military movements since 1975 Saigon, possibly. I mean, maybe 1991 Gulf War was somewhere around the same, but I don't think so. I think it was 1975 and then 2021 August. And so, yeah, just getting a lot of strength from you guys and you know, watching how you guys would operate and knowing that you had to have feelings for what was going on because you're not robots, even though I know, Chris, in the gym you were working out like a robot, but I know you guys aren't robots. And so you had to have feelings. And I just took a lot of strength watching you guys continue left, right, lefting through the deployment, being strong for the troops and having that command presence when probably inside you guys were probably getting ripped up like I was. I came back from that deployment very, what's a good word? Very angry. Yeah. Very, very angry with how things were handled. Yeah. And, you know, trying like crazy to get Afghan counterparts to the right places where they needed to go and everything like that. And I don't want to get into it all, but there was a lot of issues trying to get SIV holders out. I do hold responsible, and I won't name names, but I do hold responsible some organizations that went over to Afghanistan for likes and clicks to try and not even try to assist, just to go over there for their own reasons, which completely fucking clogged up the system. Yep. And it had created an even bigger situation than what was already happening on the ground. Mm-hmm. And so I hold quite a few unnamed because it doesn't matter what their name is. It doesn't matter what I hold anybody to, but I definitely hold some people responsible for legitimate SIV holders not being able to get out because of this clogged up system that shouldn't have been clogged up in the first place. Right. And then, so fast forward, I'm done with the government. I was angry. I was upset. Yeah. I definitely had a lot of poor me's going on, you know, victimizing myself over questions that just can't be answered. Like, what was it all for? You know, that's an answer that's a question that can't be answered. You guys both know I stepped on an IED in 2010. What was the blood for? That's a question that can't be answered. Right. The worst one was the friends that we lost. What was it for? Mm-hmm. Another question that can't be answered, but I continued to become a victim of these unanswerable questions, looking for a reason just to feel sorry for myself and just to have this pity party of entitlement. Like, oh, well, look at everything I did and look at how no one fucking cares. Mm-hmm. That's a battle within yourself. And I actually didn't start to take a hold of myself again until I was watching the news, you know, February 2022, and we're watching the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by the Russian Federation. And again, it's a special military operation. A lot of people say it's a war. Russians still don't consider it a war. If the Russians were to declare war, Ukraine would look a lot different right now.
Yeah.
But they consider it a special military operation. And as I'm watching this, I'm glued to my TV and I'm watching this, and I just felt this nagging, feeling like, I wonder if there's some way I can help. I wonder if there's something that I can do. And it's like, all right, dummy, point to Ukraine on the map. I'm like, crap. I don't know. Over in Europe, it's like, I have no idea about Ukraine. Nobody, nothing at all. But, as the days kept going by, I'm just like, man, I can go over there. Now you're hearing rumors of Westerners going over there and fighting. And it's like, well, I don't really know. I think I've done enough fighting. Like, I'm not the god of war, but I've seen some fighting in my career. And so I'm like, well, I don't know if that's the answer either. And then out of the blue, I get this phone call from a dear friend of mine. His name's David Cunningham, and his family founded the missionary organization YWAM, or Youth with a Mission.
Okay.
And they have campuses all over the world, including Kyiv. And he said, hey, most of the missionaries have evacuated for obvious reasons, but there's this group of kids. They're like 18, 19, 20 years old. They're all missionaries going through their, they were going through their, they call it DTS. I think it's disciple training mentor. I don't know. I'm butchering it completely. Somebody in the comments will correct me. But it's their training to become a missionary. And these Ukrainian kids stayed behind, and they were going into areas that the Russians were moving into. And they were evacuating women, children, and the elderly. Men 60 to 22, or maybe men 60 to 24 were not allowed to leave. They were armed and, hey, go do great things. But they were evacuating women, children, and the elderly. And he was like, yeah, I'm really, really concerned because these guys are just missionaries. They have no idea. They have no, like combat situational awareness, especially in a near peer war or a peer war, not an insurgency, but an actual, full blown near peer war. And I'm worried they're going to get themselves killed. And I asked the question that completely changed the trajectory of my, I guess my life. And I said, is there any way I can help? And he asked me, he said, yeah, you want to go to Ukraine? And I was kind of like, I think I do. Kind of in between jobs right now, meaning I'm unemployed. If I'm going to be unemployed here, I might as well be unemployed in Ukraine, trying to help people out.
Yeah.
And so my first trip over to Ukraine was actually with a missionary unit or missionary group. And so I was the only one that went over there because as they said to me at the border, they're like, all right, American, good luck.
Yeah.
But, I was heading into Kyiv, and so I flew into Poland, and then I got picked up. It's like a robin sage. It was almost like a robin sage exercise. It was crazy. Like, hey, you're going to meet up with this guy, doesn't speak any English, just get in his van and he'll take you somewhere. I'm like, okay, that's great. Sounds good.
There's no way that could go wrong.
Yeah. Some guy's going to pick you up at the border and just go with him. He's going to take you to some safe houses, and then you'll get picked up by somebody else. And then eventually you're going to make it to Kyiv, but we got to stay off the main highways because as of this point in time, the Russians have air superiority and they're watching all the main avenues of approach, which are highways.
So about what time frame wise?
This was the middle of March 2022.
Okay, so relatively quickly. I mean, you're less than a month out from. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. From when they crossed the border is about 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And so, I just, finally we get to Kyiv, and, it's about 4 days later from when I landed, because I literally just started shoving shit in a bag. And I was like, well, I don't know where I'm going into, but I've packed for plenty of deployments. So I'm just going to throw a bunch of stuff together. People are like, hey, if you're going to Ukraine, can you take this body armor? Yep. Can you take these medical supplies? Yep.
Yeah.
So I have all these bags. And at that point in time, Europe was like, all right, you're coming to help the Ukrainians. And man, I would free bags on flights and everything like that. I was like, okay, this is cool. Upgraded from economy in the toilet to economy plus. So just a little bit better, stuff like that. I was like, man, this is really cool. And so I get, through this Robin Sage scenario, I get to Kyiv. And they're like, and I meet up with this group of kids, and I call them kids because even though I'm only 23 or 48, one of those, I don't know, my math is a little off. But
I think
they're 18. Yeah, they're 18 to 20-year-old kids. And at that point in time, I think I was 43. I've been going to Ukraine. What is it now? 4 years, or is it? Yeah, 22. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm 47 now. So I guess I would have been 43. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, wow. So I get there and I meet their leader. And again, it's just like Robin Sage. The worst thing you can do is like kick down the door and Americans are here and this is what we're going to do. And although she was a young kid, I think she was 21 at the time, she was the leader. And so I was like, hey, how can I help? Where do you guys need me? She said, do you know how to drive a manual transmission? Because most Americans that come here do not.
I bet.
I was like, I can drive one. She goes, okay, can you drive a bus? I was like, yeah, I can drive a bus if no one else is on the road. And and she's like, okay, cool. We're doing a run and you're driving that. I was like, okay, cool. Where are we going? She goes, just follow us.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, do we have checkpoints? Like, who's the medics? Are we calling in? And I was like, all right, following you guys. And so basically over that, 2.5 months that I was there, I started to work my way in slowly. And so now they're asking me like, hey, what do you think about this? Well, I mean, yeah, it's amazing. Have you guys ever thought about maybe setting up checkpoints instead of, like, hey, we'll be back in 16 hours and we're going to go pick these people up from an area that the Russians are absolutely hammering right now. It's like, well, maybe we set up checkpoints like, hey, checkpoint 1, good to go. Checkpoint, simple stuff. And they're like, yeah, that's a really good idea. And I was like, hey, let's, what about the med kits?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like, do you guys know about tourniquets? It's like, yeah. So, I'm watching them do tourniquets and stuff like that. And they tighten it down and it's like, okay, that's tight. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
No, it should hurt if it's tight. And they're like, well, I don't want it to hurt. And I was like, yeah, well, then you're going to bleed out. So a lot of great training, but I didn't come in there chest pounding and it's like, former washed up, broke down Green Beret is here. Nobody cares. The only person that cares about that stuff is you. And so I just worked my way in with, first of all, like, hey, okay, cool. This is what we're doing. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's do this. And now all of a sudden, they start to ask me, well, hey, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? And I'm like, okay. And that's how I worked my way in there. And now we're dear friends. I love them to death. They're still doing their thing in Kyiv. We didn't lose anybody. Had some TBIs, but everybody gets TBI.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where it started. And the whole mine action thing, demining thing, it came from, about the end of March, early April 2022, the Russians started to conduct their withdrawal to the east. It was a tactical withdrawal. So with the tactical withdrawal, they plant mines everywhere in order to deter a possible quote unquote counteroffensive or whatever it would be. But as we all know, landmines are terrain denial. People think landmines are to kill people, and it's like that's not necessarily the Taliban will use IEDs to target personnel. The Russians and the Ukrainians, they don't use landmines that way. They use them as terrain denial. Yeah. And so where the Taliban would use 5, 6, 7 IEDs, according to our SOPs and our TTPs, and they're like, all right, this is how we're going to, put them here, here, and here, like how they got me, in the doorway, breach point, whatever you want to call it. And they're like, ha, we knew it. Well, you got me, but I also found it. So I actually did my job. But they just, there's millions and millions of mines because it's terrain denial. And it's the same way. The U.S. and our combat engineers and sappers and stuff like that, it's the same way they are trained. And actually, I'm fairly certain used landmines in the first Gulf War. I'm not 100% certain, but I think that's the last time the United States has used landmines in a conflict, if I'm not mistaken. I know the Iraqis did, and it was some freak windstorm that blew through while everybody's on the Burma and Kuwait, and they're like, "Holy shit, what are those?" And they're like, "Oh, those are anti-tank landmines," and it just. This freak storm uncovered all these miles and miles of mines. Yeah. It's like, wow, sure got lucky there. But as the Russians were conducting their withdrawal to the east, it was, there was just not only from the battles that had taken place there, so explosive remnants of war and leave behinds, but they also mined their evacuation routes, which people are like, that's so horrible. I would do it too.
Right.
If I was in their position, I would do it too. Well, as civilians started to come back to their homes, because like for the people listening, having your village, or in Ukraine's case, cities, completely destroyed due to combat, and you've had to flee those areas until it was safe. Well, it's kind of like a wildfire, earthquake, tornado, hurricane. Once the threat is gone, people want to come back to their homes and they want to see what's left. They want to see, get personal belongings, because oftentimes they've had to flee within minutes. And so as they're coming back to their homes, they start to hit these landmines.
Yeah.
And and children start to get injured by either booby-trapped items or cluster munitions. And it was, the civilian casualties were incredibly high when they started coming back to their homes. So the Ukrainian answer for this was, all right, well, we have these units that were called the territory defense units. So the territory defense units, for the listeners out there, is basically like a neighborhood watch, but with RPGs, PKMs, potentially, some sort of mounted heavy weapon. So they're kind of like Chicago, probably.
Yeah.
So it's, but the territory defense, their job was, this is your area, this is your village, this is your district. Hold the Russians as long as you can. Here's a whole bunch of weapons. Hold the Russians as long as you can until AFU, or Armed Forces of Ukraine, can get here and respond. And so that was the whole job of the territory defense in the beginning. Well, once the Russians started to conduct their withdrawal to the east and all these areas are mined, now the job of territory defense, or the territory defense that I dealt with, was to demine these areas. Okay. And I had a friend that was with the missionary organization. He's like, hey, my cousin is with Territory Defense Unit, and he was told he's a sapper or an engineer now, whatever that means. And I was like, huh, okay, why? And they were like, there's landmines everywhere, and they're supposed to remove them, but none of them know what they're doing. And I was like, oh, well, I can help. I'm not EOD, and I don't have a ton of experience, but I've definitely dealt with thousands of IEDs and maybe 100 or so landmines. They just weren't that prevalent in Afghanistan. Taliban would harvest the explosives out of landmines to use for IEDs, but I didn't deal with that many landmines in Afghanistan, but IEDs, oh yeah,
Yeah.
and but the techniques and the procedures behind finding IEDs is still the same with landmines. And IEDs are actually more dangerous than landmines because the IED it's all up to the imagination of the bomb maker, as all three of us know. Whereas in military manufactured landmines, they're manufactured a certain way, they're armed a certain way. And although you can use anti-tamper, anti-lift devices, those are also military manufactured. And so as long as you understand the devices, which is really simple because it's not a 3-switch IED that has multi,
Yeah.
as long as you understand that dynamic of the fuse and stuff like that, then it's actually pretty simple when you're not getting shot at. And so, yeah, I started working with the territory defense teams. I would partner up with them. I'd figure out what their needs are. Okay, we need equipment, we need detectors, we need this, this, and this. All right, I'd go back to the States, raise money, buy equipment, bring it back, work with these teams, donate, all the equipment over to them. Next team is like, hey, we need that same kind of help here. All right, what do you guys need? Go work with them. And working with them was my way of vetting them. Work with them. Okay, we need detectors, we need this. Come back to the States, raise money, go back, rinse and repeat, all the way up until I just got home from our 13th mission. We started doing that and helping out a lot of people, and decided to create the nonprofit that we have right now, Tip the Spear Landmine Removal. And then we also created a charity organization in Ukraine called Tip of the Spear Ukraine. And it's a demining organization led by Ukrainians, funded by us right now. But we're, trying to get the Ukrainian system going to fund them. But yeah, we have a Ukrainian team, Tip the Spear Ukraine. And I'm looking to do this all over the world. Tip the Spear Nigeria, Tip the Spear Burma, Tip the Spear Syria. And I want to do, the bread and butter, what I feel, everybody talks about elitism, like, I don't know, Delta Force, or I'm sorry, CAG, greatest shooters in the world. And they probably are. Or DevGru, great, whatever it is. We're elite. Everyone's elite until, that one next unit from, Mossad, and they're like, wow, they're better shots than us. The one thing I feel that Green Berets are the most elite in the world at is not a sexy mission, but it's necessary. It's train, advise, assist, equip, and force multiply. It is by, with, and through unconventional warfare. It's not kicking down doors, to the chest, one of the head, whatever the video game Call of Duty stuff is. It's none of that. It's working in the human domain and creating those relationships, that rapport through compassion, empathy, and then you're creating these armies behind enemy lines. Well, I just took the same mentality because it works. Train, advise, assist, force, multiply works. In Afghanistan, village stability operations worked. This, in my opinion, worked. And so I just took that idea to a humanitarian level. Now I want to use, a small number of Americans to create vast numbers of Ukrainian humanitarian deminers through what we focus on as Ukrainian veterans. And so that's the broad strokes of it right there.
Yeah. Hey, Ryan, can you hear me? Just to make sure. So going back to the beginning, right? So when you're talking about the polar bears and how we were upset, just to give you a little history, me and Chris created this podcast because of that, right? Like we created this podcast because nobody was kind of telling the story, or it was caught up in a political whatever somebody's using for some fucking sort of politics or whatever. But yeah, like, even the poll, but we put out you were coming on the show, and a lot of the polar bears that served over there, you talk about us making an impact, man. You made an impact for us, but you also made an impact for the young guys that were with you. And you probably don't know that, but a lot of the young paratroopers, man, not paratroopers, but polar bears were like, they messaged me like, man, he's a great guy. He was all like, I don't know if you know that, but yeah, it was important for us to do this podcast because of that. We brought a guy on. I think he's like our episode 3. He was called Chris Robinson. He's doing like the last deployment project and trying to get that story out of the deployment. Yeah, it's not kinetic, but it was super hard, right? It was super hard to do that stuff. It got kinetic at the end, unfortunately, but yeah, man, it was a tough one, and you're absolutely right. I think we all left there pretty pissed off. But some of the guys, especially the guys from Charlie Company that went to HKI, are still pissed off, to be honest with you. So yeah, man, it was tough, right? It was tough for that, but yeah, man. Do you remember driving around and we were trying to do the base drills and trying to get people to get in their gear? I think you were with us one time. I don't know if that was, it might have been you. I don't know. It was you. I mean, Sergeant Major Chico or something. I think we were driving around trying to.
I remember multiple times driving around and doing things.
Hey, get in the bunker or something. And some guy was like,
yeah.
I think he said, I don't know if you're with me. I might be throwing up a story, but some guy was like, yeah, I talked to Lieutenant Colonel Rowe, so I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
But
no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Yeah, but it was hard, man, and like having a guy like you on there was pretty awesome, dude. I didn't even know you were amputee until I saw you in the gym, so I was like, holy shit, you know. So,
no, I'm not an amputee. I'm a limb salvage guy.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, my whole right leg is skin grafts, and I had my bones surgically basically lined up, and if you grew back the 2 inches of tibula that you need, they said you don't need your fib. They're like, you don't need your fib. Like, nobody knows why God put that in there. I was like, I think it's a balancing thing, but whatever. I'm also the most clumsy Green Beret in the history of the regiment, but no, they just lined up my tib, and all my skin grafts took the first time. I have a skin graft on the bottom of my foot too, where they're like, I'm not sure this is gonna be long term, but I was kind of in an exploratory program. And so 2010, if you guys remember, it was the height of injuries, especially I think the most deadly month in Afghanistan and deadly year in Afghanistan. Again, I could be wrong, but I think it was September 2010. When you go to that casualty counter, I think it was September 2010 during the surge.
Yeah.
But it's just, the skin grafts all took. Somehow the skin graft on the bottom of my foot is maintaining. And I ended up going back to Afghanistan 7 more times after that, just beating the shit out of myself. But no, you had mentioned something about the young soldiers, and it's because that's the future of the military. And they need to be cultivated. They need, it's like, they graduated high school. What? You're a fucking kid when you graduate high school.
Yeah.
And you can ruin somebody extremely quickly by bad and toxic leadership. Or you can create the next Audie Murphy by positive leadership, showing strength, showing how, to keep a clear head, to how to make sound decisions, not based on emotions, but based on facts and what's going on at the time. And so that was super important to me, because I've, through my career, I've seen toxic leadership and I've seen amazing leadership like you two. And so for me, those young soldiers have to see that.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so important to me, to do whatever I could, just, do my little part, to give them an example of, although I wasn't in a leadership position, I was in a mentorship position.
Yeah.
And I wanted, and especially mentoring those young E5s, those young E6s and stuff like that. That mentorship and those young, first lieutenants, the best that I could, because that's the future. Mm-hmm. That's the Army.
There's some future Green Berets in there too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I mean, that to bring it back to Ukraine a little bit, that's one of the reasons why I think, in my opinion, you're so good with this mission, right? And you talk about your training with the Green Berets and the foreign internal defense building and things like that. There was a period of time, thanks to GWAT, that a lot of that kind of training went by the wayside a little bit, and everybody wanted to be a door kicker. Everybody wanted to go shoot people in the face. And things like that. Luckily, there were that core group of people like yourselves, or like yourself rather. That is what makes the Green Berets so special. Is it's their ability to get in and help build something out of nothing, right? It's like you said. There's always going to be somebody that's a better shooter, a better whatever. But that's your niche, right? And it's your ability to connect, to relate, guide, and then lead. And so having you on the deployment with us, and realizing after Jerry and I got to know you, wow, this is an amazing asset that we have. Not just because you're really good at your job, but you're just really good human being and leader. I can't think of a better person than to try to take those lessons learned, and machinate, whatever the word is, chew on those for a little bit. Get in the fields, kind of like you said, post 2021 when the shit kind of happened. But then to be able to turn around and realize, man, I've got something that I can offer. Let me go over there. I don't know what it is specifically they need, but I've got something I can offer. And yeah, I mean, the ability to do that, I'd like to hear your take kind of on your ability to take that foreign internal defense mission and be able to then move that out, right? Because it takes a certain person, a certain makeup of individual to be able to go over there and say, hey, my ego's to the side. What is it that you need me to do? But then using that soft leadership, right? Because it does take soft leadership. You still have to be able to work that in there to be able to say, okay, I see all these things wrong. Or wrong's probably not the best word. I see all these areas where we can improve. Checkpoints, medics, specific training, driver's training maybe, things like that. How do I get them to see it through that lens of let's make this better without it coming off as, hey, everybody, look at me. I know what I'm doing. Kind of like you said, I'm a Green Beret. Can you talk me through what is your process for doing that?
Yeah. So going all the way back to the beginning, joining Special Forces, Green Berets. I did not join to be first-person shooter. If I wanted that, and as I told multiple guys that are like, I want to be a Green Beret, and I was like, why? They're like, I want to shoot people in the fucking face. And I was like, go to Ranger Regiment. They are some of the best shooters in the face guys in the world. Go to Ranger Regiment, go do all that. But don't come to Special Forces because that's not what we need. We've gone so far away from it. Everybody wants to be a first-person shooter in Special Forces during the GWAT era. It's like, I want to get in that gunfight. And again, gunfights are fun. I've enjoyed my time in gunfights, but my main job was to build relationships through compassion, rapport, empathy, train, advise, assist, force multiply, and then to take this group of militiamen like we did in 2010 and 2012, take them and help them liberate their own villages, their own districts, their own areas from the Taliban. That's why I joined it, because of the history of the Green Berets in Vietnam. If I wanted to be first-person shooter, Ranger Regiment is some of the best in the world.
Agreed.
Hands down. And so that's where I lead guys too that want to get their gun on. I was like, we need you in Ranger Regiment. Not so much in Special Forces. We need thinkers in special forces. Yes, you need to be proficient. A Green Beret is, you are supposed to be the master of the basics. That's another thing that used to really frustrate me is the guys like, I'm a Green Beret. So they would ditch all the basics and then they would just straight, master the cool guy skills. But in the end, a Green Beret is supposed to be master of the basics. And so that was huge with me, is you need to know the basics. And so you're doing different hip pocket training with infantry units, mortar units, and stuff like that, because you got to know the basics in order to move on to these mastery skills, like CQB and stuff like that. Even though you need to know the basics of room clearing, but it goes further than that. And so with me in special forces, just giving a background of why I joined for more of the human domain than the first person shooter aspect of it. For me, being able to number one, understand that it's just a job. It's just a job. Being a Green Beret, Navy SEAL, anything like that, it is a job. You chose this path. They chose that path. You're no better than anybody else. You just chose a different path in life. It's a job. So once you have your ego in check, because it is just a job, you're no better than anybody else. Now all of a sudden it's like, okay, let me start to look at it through the lens of a Green Beret. And if a Green Beret's bread and butter is unconventional warfare and force multiplication, now when I get to 10th Mountain and I'm like, okay, hey, all right, guys, let's go to the basics. Let's master the basics. Let's build up the basics and start to force multiply these young soldiers, because, training for Afghanistan, and then you get on a 9, 10, 12-month deployment, you got to continue to refresh those basics. And so it's like, all right, well, let's create some. So we're creating this, quote unquote, this army of masters of the basics, because the basics are what is going to keep you alive in a fight. It's the basics. And so with that, it's like, all right. And then not to mention the humility part comes in. Let me try and learn from them as well. Hey, I'm not out there, hey, I got all the answers, because you don't. There's not there's not a single person in special operations that has all the answers, or anywhere else. You don't have all the answers. And so if you can open up your mind and you understand, like, I can learn from them as well, that's going to make you better at the basics. But it fine tunes your skills for another part of special forces that's very critical, and that's unconventional warfare, right, by, with, and through. And so I would always look at everything that I was doing, I guess at the human level, because again, we're all humans. But that 18-year-old private, I want to know about you, dude. Like, hey, what's yeah, we're doing some training out here, and you have aspirations to go do this, and this. And yeah, man, hey, let's talk about that. And so you get on the personal level, and you're also on the training level, and now you're a human being instead of this machine that a lot of the young guys, for whatever reason or not, think that special forces and SEAL teams and stuff like that are full of, is these machines. And it's like, nope, still full of human beings, just like you, just chose a different path. And once I mastered, I guess, the art of humility, humble, and understanding, like, not just saying it, but it is a complete, like, you have to get it in your mind that this is just a fucking job. You're no better than anybody else. Yeah. Once you can get that drilled into your head, then it's a lot easier, because once you look at everybody else as the same level as you, then it's simple, because you can communicate at that personal level with people. And that just, that's what I I mean, interpersonal communication. It's almost extinct, but that's what I love it.
I think too. Some Green Berets, they just miss it, man. I missed the point because, man, these kids, they look up to you guys, man. They look up to the Green Berets. They look up the organization. They look up to the Delta guys. They look up all the special operations dudes, man. And like you said, there's good apples and there's bad apples, but I just get angry with it because, like, man, you guys can make such a huge difference, man. Because you all started somewhere, like you said, you started in multiple services, so you've been there, done that. You were that young guy before, man, and like I think you just missed it, man. If you go in there with this ego and think that, hey, man, that I got this long tab, I'm kind of better than conventional guys or whatever. Like, you got to go in there and be pop, and they're looking up to you, man. You could really make a difference.
Out of all the special operations units, the one unit that is supposed to work on the human level is Green Berets.
Yeah.
That is the one organization. Yeah, you got your Navy SEALs. Okay. You're going to get a good guy or bad guy. It's just, coin toss, but you expect that. Ranger Regiment. It just depends on which pissed off E5 you run into or tab specialist you run into. Who knows? But in special forces, you are supposed to work at the human domain, hearts and minds, compassion, rapport, empathy, all of that. That's your job. That's your weapon. That's your survivability mechanism. There is one organization, special operations organization in the world, that because of those skills that you're supposed to have in the human domain, we can literally survive behind enemy lines for a long, long time with the different networks and everything else that you create through unconventional warfare. And you don't even need to fire a shot.
Yeah.
But it's not sexy to a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's not sexy to a lot of people, but your mind in special forces, that is what is supposed to be one of your key weapon systems is your mind. And working with people and understanding people. The entire world understands rapport. The entire world understands empathy, regardless of language, and compassion. They can see it. Afghans can smell bullshit a mile away.
Yeah.
And they can tell if you're full of shit and if you're not.
Yeah.
And the reason why I did so well in Afghanistan, not as a shooter, but was because of the rapport that I would create with the villages and the people and stuff like that, and literally like taking all of my Western ideals aside and saying, hey, okay, I'm here. Let's go do something that's going to help you guys out, whether it's blowing irrigation canals, you're not shooting anybody in the face when you're using dynamite to blow an irrigation canal to get water from the Helmand River to a farm field that's a quarter of a mile away. Now, is it really fun? Oh yeah, it's super fun because you're using dynamite and stuff like that. But that's what I loved about it. You're in here and it's like, hey, let's build a clinic. Oh, we got deltas. Yeah, let's start yanking teeth. You guys are gonna die because your teeth are rotten, and we got and all that stuff. I absolutely loved it because you were working in the human domain, and as long as you can look at human beings as human beings, and I'm not talking about I don't look at the Taliban or ISIS or any of the guys as human beings. They're just animals.
Yeah.
But if you can look at human beings as human beings, regardless of language, regardless of culture, and regardless of what you think is right and wrong, if you can look at human beings as human beings, it's going to take you a really, really long ways. And now all of a sudden, if the shit really hits the fan, the people that treated their counterparts with respect, compassion, empathy, and they gain that rapport, you have a really, really good chance of surviving and getting to let's say a friendly country through a rat line or through an underground or something like that, which is all the stuff you set up, by the way. But the people that don't, the people that have a colossal loss of rapport in the area, what do you think happens once the bad guys take the upper hand? You're fucked. And that's what Green Berets are supposed to be, is the masters of the human domain.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty amazing, your ability to. I've always thought of when I picture what a Green Beret is, or should be. It's that quiet professional, right? They don't have to go over there and beat their chest or anything like that. It's just no. I'm good at my job, but here I am. What can I do to help, right? And so your ability to have harnessed all of that in you and then take it over to Ukraine and work with that young 20-something-year-old, call her a team leader, and then be able to take what she's giving you and then be able to slowly build that rapport to be able to, hey, that's really good. That's really good. What do you think about doing this? Right. And then get it to the point where, I mean, you are leading through them. Right. And that is a master skill. That is a master craft of leadership and team building, is to be able to lead through other people. And that's pretty amazing.
And pushing them in the right direction. So now they're creating the solutions, and now they have the confidence that I just created this, and all you're doing is just guiding them in the direction that you need to go. I don't have kids, but I'm fairly certain that's the same as parenting. Like, well, hey, what do you think, bud? How do you want to, how do you want to tackle this? What about, and it's the same thing, because when you come up with something yourself, it means so much more than when somebody gives you something and is like, hey, do this. Okay, well, this is kind of stupid. And I mean, that's what I think. And again, I think from what I've been hearing, I think Special Forces is starting to work their way back to the unconventional mindset. I've heard like the Q course all revolves around this unconventional warfare scenario from what I've heard. I don't know. When I went through the Q course, it was how much weight can you carry and how fucking tough are you? And we're gonna destroy you. And if you're still standing and we still don't like you, we're gonna kick you out. But if we like you, then great, you can stay. And I was like, damn. So I learned how to carry hundreds of pounds. I got ideas about ambushes and patrolling and all this other stuff, even though I am the world's worst Green Beret at land nav. And I was just like, well, I wonder, well, I guess, you'll learn it all at your ODA. Oh, okay.
Okay.
So, and I heard it's really, really good now. Like there's some thinkers that are coming into the regiment. When I came in, it was all meatheads. Just be strong, be tough, carry a shitload of weight, and kill the enemy. Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, a lot of the Green Berets I've met, Ryan, are just super, like you said, man, are just super fast thinkers, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I work with some in organization now, and they're just like, dude, it's just how quick they think to a problem set. It's pretty. I mean, I'm not the smartest dude. I'm telling you what it is, but just that's who they are, man. So yeah. What
I benefit from, and what I benefited from as a Green Beret, was because I am stupid. I am clinically stupid in all 50 states in America. But what I'm really what I'm really good at doing is enabling the people around me. I surround myself with bigger, better, faster, stronger, and smarter people. And then I just go from there. And I'm like, I don't know. What would you guys do? It's like, I would do that too. And they're like, wow, man, this is great.
That's almost exactly what I did with the polar bears.
Yeah, you do a good job, Ryan, of getting the buy-in, man. I think that's the important thing, right? If you get a good team and you can get their buy-in and to kind of like you work for them, they work for you kind of thing, man, and you get that good team, it's I think you do a good job at that. I think it's your personality too. You're really approachable, so
I mean it's being humble, because like my dad said, you need to stop with that. You're a human being that did a job. He's like, don't start with this whole I'm a this. He goes, you're a fucking human being. Yeah. He goes, you're a dumb one, but you're a human being. He's like, you're no better and you're no worse.
Yeah.
He was like, don't put yourself on that pedestal, because what that does is when you put yourself on that pedestal with what you think, because again, around the world, they're like, Green Beret? Why are you named after a French hat and an ugly color? And I was like, yes. But it's like you're the one that thinks of yourself more than anybody else does. Nobody goes home and thinks about Ryan Hendrickson. That's just, you're not that important. It's the 3 F's. If you're not feeding me, financing me, or fucking me, that you're just not that important to me. I can, I can tell you like, hey, yeah, thank you for your service. Oh, wow. Special forces. Oh, that's great. Yeah. But in the end, if you're not paying my bills, like, cool story, bro. You're not putting food on my table. I'm glad you did what you did. And so you're the most important person to yourself. And you're the one that thinks that everybody thinks about you because you're the most important person in your world. Once you understand that you're only a part of something, and you're a piece of the puzzle. You are not the entire puzzle. Once you get that humility and you get that understanding that I'm no better than anybody else. I just chose a different path. The dominoes happened to fall in one direction for me, and I took it. Once you understand that creates this whole nother level of humility and being humble. There is something to be said about being humble, because what it is it's infectious. When you're humble, then people around you, again, I hope there's not a lot of families watching this, but the big dick competition stops because somebody is humble. Because truthfully, it is exhausting thinking how awesome you are. It's exhausting. You have to be humble. Being humble it's just this freedom, because you realize you don't have to be everything. You're not the pinnacle. And once you take that stress away from yourself and you understand that you're just part of something, and guess what? That janitor over there, he may have some lessons for you that you didn't know. Or, I did this job, but I taught, I hate to jump around everywhere, but there was a very, so when I was in group, there was this kid.
We're just BSing, Ryan. So.
Oh, okay. When I was in group, there was this, there was this like 25-year-old. He was just a straight computer nerd, just like a nerd, just geek. And this guy was like the CrossFit rucking, running, swimming like God. And there was guys on the team that used to give him shit. They were like, "Oh yeah, you're not good enough to, go to selection, huh?" And I was like, geez, here we go. I just kind of kept my head down because I was a younger guy at the time. But I was like, all right, well, that's a leadership style I don't want. Yeah. And the kid was like, I would absolutely destroy the Q course. I would. I would do fine. It wouldn't be a problem for me. I know this. He said, but I love the job that I'm in. I love computers. I love databases. I love, all this stuff he said that I was like, what? Like email stuff? Like what? He loved it. And he was like, I'm in this job because I want to do this. If I wanted to be a Green Beret, I could easily be a Green Beret. And the guys that had that ego about them was like, oh, well, yeah, if you so easy, then you'd come over. And it's like, I don't want to. Yeah. I like what I'm doing. I like to be, and I forgot what the job was, but he basically, he would take intercepted computer traffic shit and be like, oh, this is what they're saying. And then it would go up to, I guess, the Intel cell or something like that, S1 or maybe S2 was Intel. I think S2 was Intel.
S2 was Intel, yeah.
Yeah, and it would, it'd go from there. But he loved his job as an analyst. And he's like, I don't want to be a Green Beret. I could be a Green Beret if I want. I could be a Navy SEAL if I want. He's like, I can go to CAG if I want. I don't want to. I love my job. And I learned a lot. And he was a specialist. Mm-hmm. I learned a lot from that conversation he had with these, E7s that are walking around. It's like, oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Not really sure if you saw the long tab over. It's like nobody cares. The only person that cares about that is you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hey, for everybody out there who's listening too, it doesn't just translate to like the Green Beret, man. I think this is just a good leadership discussion, right? Like if you like I see it in senior leaders all the sergeant majors too, man. Some of those dudes just walk, they got that reef on their chest and they're not humble. They just toxic. Like I don't know if I want to use that word or what everybody throws that toxic leadership shit around, but like you just gotta stay humble, man, and true who you are. So like don't let any of that stuff change you, because the guys are going to see it, your young soldiers are going to see it, and they're going to grow into that, right? They'll be that same person that they're emulating what you're doing. So there's nothing wrong with, man, pulling a kid aside and say, hey man, I need some help with this. Like, I don't know at all. Can you help me? You're pretty strong at that. So if you guys listen into it, it's not just like, being a Green Beret, sure, but like leadership overall. Stay humble. And that goes all the way up to senior leaders too. Like not just the lower, like young guys, so.
It was insane. Like the deployments I have to Afghanistan, every deployment when we had free time, I was in the motor pool or the fabrication shop. You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah, fabrication shop, learning how to sew, learning how to weld, learning just when we had free time, I would be going over and trying to learn as much as I possibly can because it was all free. I can go over here and weld if I wanted to. And I was like, man, that's awesome. I can learn about diesel engines from this specialist and stuff like that. And I was like, man, how do you know all this stuff? And he goes, I went to school for it, Sergeant. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a really good point. I could learn drones from, the drone team. I could learn, I would just try and learn as much as I possibly can. And when you empower the people around you and you're actually learning something from them and you're allowing them to teach you, oh man, there is no greater avenue to rapport than that. I mean, that is,
you make a badass team, man. Their team is pretty lethal if you do that kind of stuff. Hey, can you let the audience know what jobs you were in your other services?
Yeah. All right. So preface first. Hold on. So I graduated high school in 1997, and I had taken the ASFAB, everything. Again, I out of Oregon, and I had taken the ASFAB, and let's say I scored. It was a modest score.
Waiver type. Was it a waiver?
Yeah, there was some retesting involved. But in the 90s, where I ended up going, they were like, we don't care if you even know how to speak English, man. Just come on.
Yeah.
But so when you take the ASFAB in your senior year, you start to play the recruiter roulette. And my dad had made it well known. He was like, hey, once you graduate high school, you cannot stay here, because if I let you stay here, you're never going to leave this town. And you're going to be, 40 years old, pumping gas, talking about your senior year homecoming football game. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't care what you do. I honestly believe every young man should, give his country, a portion of his life, go to the military 4 years, gain experience, then come back and figure out what you want to do. But you're 18 years old. You don't know shit. So number one, go out and get experience. And number two, you can't stay here. So you're leaving anyways.
Yeah.
And so I was playing the recruiter roulette, and the first recruiter was the Air Force guy. And he's like, oh, wow. Oh. And this is 1997. This is the Clinton downsizing of the military and everything. And he's just like, yeah, you're not really what we're looking for in the Air Force. And I could see them looking at my test scores. And I was like, man, maybe I'm just too elite for these guys. This got to be it. They're like, yeah, you should actually go talk to the Marines. Like that's kind of that. Yeah, you should go do that, man. That's really cute. Thanks for coming in. The Army, believe it or not, they didn't need anybody. It was like a year wait to get on an infantry contract. And I was like, yeah, and they needed they really needed guys for Patriot missile systems, because at that time we were doing Northern and Southern Watch in Iraq.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think so.
You guys remember? Is that
Yeah.
that was Northern Southern Watch? I think something
I
like
believe
that.
so.
Yeah, in the '90s, which turned into Desert Fox at one point, and then and so the Army really didn't need anybody, and I was just like, well, crap. My dad's like, boot camp soon.
Yeah.
And so I went in, the Marines, and man, this guy was just like an angry guy. He's just yelling, telling me I don't have what it takes to be a Marine and all this other stuff. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, thanks for letting me know. Like, you just saved me a whole lot of issues. I was like, that's great, man. I bet you he's a big teddy bear underneath all that yelling and screaming and telling everybody they don't have what it takes to be a United States Marine. I was like, great. And the Navy guy, he was like a used mattress salesman. And it was kind of like one of those things where he's just like, hey, you want to travel the world, go to foreign places, foreign women. And this is 18-year-old Ryan Hendrickson. I was like, yep. And he's like, you ever seen Top Gun with Tom Cruise or Navy SEALs with Charlie Sheen? I was like, yeah. He goes, that's all the Navy is. I was like, wow, man, this is going to be great. And so, yeah, I joined. My first branch of the service was the Navy, and I did not fly F-14 Tomcats, nor was I a Navy SEAL. But I was on a ship. And I was a bosun's mate. Actually, I was on 3 ships. And I was a bosun's mate, and my first ship was in Norfolk, Virginia. And so I did a deployment to the Persian Gulf there. It was like an 11-month on a ship. Horrible. Because the ship was commissioned in, the 60s. It was the USS Shreveport. I was like, man, this sucks.
Is that like a cargo ship? I think
no, it was an amphib full of Marines.
Oh, okay. Oh shit.
And so and we had a well deck. So they had the AAVs, the amphibious assault vehicles that would float in and everything. And I guess at one point Saddam was, he kicked all the weapons inspectors out, and we're like, we're going to war. And so, we launched Marines and everything like that. And then they got recalled back. But I had some experiences in the Persian Gulf. It was like sitting on the flight deck, at night, and just, watching, the oil fires burn all over the place, or seeing, the sunsets and the sunrises in the Persian Gulf, just you can't even, you can't even explain it. It's just like on a whole nother world.
Yeah.
And then I went to Bremerton, Washington, because my ex-wife, she was stationed at Fort Lewis. She was in the Army. She was at Fort Lewis. So I went up to Bremerton, and I did a Westpac, which went to the Persian Gulf again, but you call a med cruise, which is the East Coast, and a Westpac, which is the West Coast. And so I circled the globe on a ship, which was super cool. Went to tons of different countries. Just got that experience that my dad told me. He's like, go out, get some experience, see the world, come back and figure out what you want to do. And so, April 2001, I decided to get out of the Navy. I was like, all right, I did my time. I was on 2 ships commissioned in the late 60s. I was like, I'm done with this. And
hot bunking.
Yeah.
And
so, I got out and tried to play the civilian world thing till about 2002. And, after that, it's all right. 9/11's already happened.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, this is actually going to be a war, not just a response to the Beirut bombings or the African embassy bombings, where you hit them with a bunch of Patriot missiles, and you're like, don't ever do that again. And they're like, yeah, fuck you. This is going to be a war. And we have Green Berets that are going in. I don't know what a Green Beret is besides what my dad told me about in Vietnam when my dad was in Vietnam. And we, there's this whole thing going on. I was like, it'll probably fizzle itself out. I'm not going back into a peacetime military. It's just boring.
mm-hmm.
And then it didn't. And I was like, I got to get back in.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to join the Army in 2002 for this weird 18 X-ray contract. I was like, I don't think it was called 18 X-ray at the time. There was a different name for it, but basically come off the street and be a Green Beret. And I was like, I have no idea about Green Berets except for what my dad told me. And John Wayne's a Green Beret. I was like, oh, and Rambo. I was like, yeah. Other than that, no idea. But my dad would tell me these stories because my dad, he was an attachment with MACV SOG teams. He was not a Green Beret himself. He had went through selection. Well, what they called, I don't remember what it was called in the 60s, but we're going to call it selection.
Yeah.
He went through selection, didn't make it, but they were like, hey, we would like you to be attached to these teams for the job that you went through. And so my dad, he was a helicopter crew chief on Hueys. Okay. And so, Fort Rucker and all that other stuff in the 60s. And so that's what he did in Vietnam was he was a helicopter crew chief for a couple MACV SOG teams and mainly infiltration and then medevacs. So he on the ground you're a crew chief, in the air you probably you got a 60 M60 in your hand. Yeah, so that's what my dad did. But the stories he had about the Green Berets and just remembering, like I remember my dad would talk to me about the compassion that they would have for the people. You would have the regular soldiers that would come through, and it was just straight up kill.
Yeah.
And he was like, it was just weird because the Green Berets, they had this compassion for the people. And he said, I loved it. It was infectious. And so, I had that idea already in my mind, but my ex-wife, she was getting out of the Army and she's like, I'm not going to be an Army spouse.
Yeah.
Nope. I was like, okay. So, now it's January 2003 and we agree upon the Air Force. And so went to the Air Force and I was thinking like, all right, maybe I'll do, combat control or something like that. And the needs of the Air Force at the time was for ammunition loaders. So to load bombs on aircraft.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that sounds really cool too. So that's what I did. I was an ammo troop and it was a great job. It was an amazing job, but it was just, there was this one part that was missing. And that was, I wanted to be in the fight. I wanted to be making a difference outside of the flight line and loading bombs on aircraft. And although those bombs on aircraft saved, hundreds of American lives, if maybe thousands, I don't know, because, I was in Iraq in 2003.
Yeah.
And, and just loading bombs on aircraft. And I'm fairly certain they saved a lot of American lives, which I'm very proud of, that job that I did. But there's just something missing. And so in Iraq, I'm sorry, did I say 2003? No, I'm sorry, 2000. Yeah, 2000. Actually, let me see right here. I got a check from Kirkuk Air Base, or Kirkuk. You guys know Kirkuk.
Yep.
Nope, I was in Iraq in 2004.
Yeah.
So we're still dropping bombs. We're still getting after it. It's not shock and awe, but I wasn't on the ground, but we were loading a ton of bombs. So, and we also had AC-130s and A-10s, and they were always coming back Winchestered. And so whatever was happening outside the wire, I don't know, but they were coming back empty. And so, I was, the job was amazing. And I felt like we were making such a great difference for the ground troops, but I wanted to be that ground troop.
Yeah.
And so, 2007, when I went through my divorce and everything like that, there was this program with the Army. It was blue to green. And so you can basically go from the Air Force to the Army through the blue to green program. And there was a couple jobs you could either stay in your job. So the Army also has ammunition troops as well. You can stay in that job, and I could have went warrant for being an ammo troop, or I guess logistics.
Yeah.
Or I would have gained a rank to come over to the Army. But instead, I lost a rank because I was like, I'm going to go be an 18 X-ray.
Yeah.
And and yeah, I mean, Q
How,
Corps.
how,
And
how did
that's
you
the other.
adapt?
Yeah.
How did you adapt from going from these different leadership styles and different cultures and to the Green
I will
Beret?
tell you.
That's
I
crazy.
will tell you. Yeah, I will tell you this. So when I was going through my divorce, let's just say I deserved it. I was not a good young husband. You know, I should never have been married at 19 years old. I was a bad fucking dude, and I got everything that I deserved. Everything. And she is the greatest woman in the world. She never should have put up for it with as long as she did, but she did. And you know, those are mistakes that, you know, I'll definitely answer for when I get to heaven. It's just like, man, why were you just such a monster?
Yeah.
I don't have an excuse for it. I just was immature little boy. But I needed something when I was going through my divorce. I needed something to absolutely bury myself into, where I didn't have to think. I was going to get the shit beat out of me. I was going to be hungry. I was going to be cold. I was going to, you know, I just need something to completely consume my life so I don't have time to think about this. And the X-ray program, it did. I mean, you go through the Warrior Transition course, and then you go to Infantry Basic, and then you go to Jump School, which is by far the worst school I've ever been through in my life. I had no idea I hate heights. I hate heights. I would puke before jumps. I would just like, it was horrible. I don't like horrible. There's no need for us to jump. I hate it. Just land the fucking aircraft.
Yeah.
And then, you know, through the 18 X-ray preparation course to selection to on and on. And I absolutely loved it. I loved Infantry Basic. I loved AIT. Hated airborne school, but I loved everything about it because I was able to dive into something to take my mind off of everything in the past, this entire, you know, F5 tornado path that I have created for my life. I was able to avoid all that through this training, which is not a good idea because it will come back to you like, oh, I don't know, when you're in the hospital bed for 4 months because you stepped on an IED, it comes back to you. You got to deal with your shit. But for me, although selection in the Q course was physically hard, it was not hard for me at all because I had no bad habits. They would say patrol like this, okay. Land nav like this, okay. Ambush like this, okay. It was just like, hey, whatever you say. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and so for me, it was actually, you know, I was a first time go every time. Because it was like, all right, well, I'm not like this specially gifted guy. I'm towards the, you know, middle back on runs. Unfortunately, I can ruck as fast as I can run. So I was good at rucking, but you know, I got little Smurf legs, and so trying to keep up with everybody on runs, yeah, I was toward the back. I was not the most physically fit guy. I was just average. I was just an average dude. But I was able to kind of breeze through, and again, physically extremely difficult, mentally very difficult, but I was able to breeze through because I dedicated my entire life to that. I had nothing else. I didn't have a family to worry about. I wasn't worried about bills because I went from I went down to E5. And so I'm living in the barracks, everything like that. I can eat at the chow hall, all that stuff. Life was super simple for me. And so that's the reason why I was so successful at it, is because I made up my mind that I was going to give it everything I had. And in my mind, I was like, and when this doesn't work out, at least I know that I gave it everything I have, and I'll never be able to sit back and think like, oh wow, I probably could have gave it more, or I probably could have done, you know, none of that. I would have no excuses. And so if this doesn't work, or when this doesn't work, I'm still going to be proud of myself. And then, you know, thankfully I had a contract that if I didn't make it through, I was going to Fort Lewis. And I was like, cool, be back in the, Pacific Northwest and be back with everybody. But, be back with, the area I'm familiar with from growing up. But to even get a better idea of my mindset and, for maybe some of the younger guys that are possibly thinking about Ranger Regiment or, Special Forces or PSYOPs or Civil Affairs or 160th, whatever it is, or warrant. But like I tell everybody, if you have the ability, get a flight physical, and if you pass, go fly helicopters.
Yeah,
they will teach you for free. And that was my entire goal. My entire goal before I stepped on a IED was I was going to do 4 years as a Green Beret, and then I was going to go to warrant and fly because like it's free. I don't have to pay for flight school. Like I go to Rucker and it's free. That's what my goal was.
You'd have been all purpose by that point. You've done everything.
Yeah. Jesus. The problem is after stepping on an IED, you can't work the pedals.
That's true.
And so I didn't. Yeah. And so I wasn't medically qualified to fly helicopters, but I was medically qualified to fly on them. And so I did a lot of that. But to go even further back, so before I joined the military, and it's in my, I write about it in the book, but my dad gave me this advice. And he said, there's two old men sitting on their rocking chairs on their porch, and they're waiting on death. Death is imminent. And the first old man, he's miserable because he's done nothing with his life. He never took any chances. He never risked anything. He was so scared of failure that he never did anything he could fail at. And because of that, he always lived in this little bubble. Outsider looking in, he looked successful, nice family, nice house, everything like that. But the man was miserable because he let life pass him by, and there was nothing he can do about it at that point except for live in regret for everything he didn't do. Then the second old man was sitting there, and he was happy, he was content, he was fulfilled because he's done it all. He's failed multiple times. He's succeeded some. He's risked everything. He's fallen flat on his face. He's gotten up, but he did it. And he had no regrets in the life that he lived. All he was doing was looking back on everything he did, and he had no I wish I would have.
Yeah.
It was everything, whether you failed or you succeeded, he did it all. And he was happy. He was content. And he said, every single person in this world that's living is going to come to a point in their life where they are going to have to reflect on, they're going to have to reflect back on what you did and what you did not do, the chances you took, the chances you did not take, the risks, the failures, the successes. You're going to have to look back on all that. Yeah. And he said, which old man do you want to be? And so as I'm looking at the 18 X-ray program, and I'm like, wow, I have nothing that qualifies for this. I was a bosun's mate in the Navy on a ship, so a deckhand. And in the Air Force, I was an ammo troop, and so a flight line guy. I was like, besides growing up, running around the woods, I was like, I have no qualifications for this at all. But I did not want to get to a point in my life when I had the opportunity to look back and wish I would have at least tried.
Yeah.
And so that's what pushed me over the edge to go. And again, mediocre to a little bit lower than mediocre, nothing really, was physically dominant about me or mentally. No, I'm a dumbass, but it's just a normal dude, but it all revolves around your mindset.
Yeah.
Your mindset. And that's the reason why it was so easy for me to adapt to the special forces world of what I joined it for, was because I'm not any better. There are people bigger, better, faster, smarter, stronger than I am that aren't Green Berets. And so that's why it was easy for me to understand that this is just the job and this is a path that I took. Yeah. And these doors opened up for me and I walked through them. Yeah. I'm now better and I'm no worse than anybody else. It's just a job. And that's what helped me keep very humble, was probably being a very mediocre Green Beret.
I'll tell you, Eric, I think Chris can, like, he kind of relate to what we're kind of saying. I think even in our side, the conventional side of the house, there's there's a fear to failure, right? Like guys won't go to school because like, fuck man, I'm gonna fail that, or come back, because you come back and then you're like, dude, you failed out of SF selection, or you failed out of Ranger school, and people like, there's leaders that hold those guys they hold that on them, right? Like it's,
Yeah.
but at least they tried, right? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So there's a little bit of systemic like feel of failure for some of these. There's some good cats, and all they got to do is take the step, man. Like you said, they don't have to be like the best guy as long as they get their foot in the door to do it, right?
But
So
it's
Right.
If I can real quick, it's bigger than just the military, right?
Oh yeah.
That's it's anybody. And what you're talking about, it seems to me, at least mentally, it seems so easy to say, hey, I'm good. I want to live my life with no regrets. Okay. And when death is knocking at my door, I don't want to look back. And I like what you said there, the should have beens or the should have was or whatever. But it is so much easier to say that than it is to do it. To take that first step, to get out there, fail at being, an accountant and realize, okay, you know what? Being an accountant, that sucks. I don't want to do that. Maybe I try being a lawyer, or maybe I try being a doctor, or whatever it is, or going into the military. But to be able to live your life like that, that's extremely honorable, but it is so difficult. It is so difficult because you think about it when you're 17, 18 years old and your dad's sitting you down and he's saying, hey, here are your options. But it all ends with you not living in this house after you turn 18. Go do something. To be able to make that first step and then realize, okay, being on a ship that was made in the 60s, not for me. Let me go try to do something else. And then realize, oh shit, man, no, this is not just another Desert Storm. This is not just another, let's launch some tomahawks at somebody and be done. This is actually going to be a war. I want to go do this. And then to take the final step of, okay, look, I've always had it in the back of my mind. I heard my dad's stories. I want to be about being with the Green Berets and working with the Mac DSOG. And that takes courage and a lot of intestinal fortitude. The closest thing I have, because I didn't, yes, my dad served and, I grew up around that a little bit. But I knew for me coming out of high school, I wanted nothing to do with the military, like nothing. And this was circa 1994, 1995. And I didn't, right? I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew in my heart of hearts, it was not going to be the military. It just wasn't going to be. It wasn't until I had that come to Jesus moment a little bit later on in my life that I realized, okay, well, maybe going into the military isn't such a bad idea. But the closest thing for me was, once I made the decision to become an officer and that I was going to go into the infantry, it was Ranger School, right? And it was so many people talk about wanting to go to Ranger School, in our line of work being in the infantry. I'd always get the question, hey, sir, like, what was it like going to Ranger School? What was it like? What was it like? And I would tell everybody, look, I'm not a physical specimen. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I never claimed to be. You go to Ranger School, it's about being physically ready to go. You've got to have the physical readiness piece. But then they're going to teach you everything you need to know after that. The biggest thing for me about going to Ranger School and quite frankly, having never gone through the Q course or anything like that, so I leave that up to you to debate. It's about going with the mindset that nothing is going to stop me from doing this, whatever it is. No matter how many tries I have to take, how many swings I have to take until I hit that ball, I am going to keep taking those swings. I'm going to keep trying and trying and trying. And it's that mental resiliency that a lot of people lack these days to be able to have that in your mind that I want to do this. Now, what do I have to do? What do I have to sacrifice to do that? And it's a great lesson that you're talking about there. It's that mental mindset that no matter what I do, I am going to put my mind to this and I am going to accomplish it. I'm not the tallest. I'm not the strongest. I'm not the fastest. but dadgummit, you're going to have to carry me out of here before I quit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also think failure. A lot of command toxicity revolves around, failure. If I send you to Ranger School and you don't make it through, now there's different kinds of failures in my mind. When this guy goes to whatever course it is, and I've never been to Ranger School, so I can't speak to it. But when you go to Ranger School or whatever it is, and if you don't make it through, why didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you quit on yourself, or was this period of your life you just didn't have what it takes? And so let's get you bigger, better, faster, stronger, and let's send you back.
Yep.
And so there's different failures. There's the failure, like nonverbal, nonverbal quitting or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
It's there's a difference, I think it is. And so failing, and the reason why I'm a firm believer in this is because when you just go to the business world, for example, there are very few extremely successful millionaires and billionaires that didn't fail their way up to the top. And so I don't understand. Now, yes, it costs money to send soldiers here. We really, really, really need you to pass this course. And that's the reason why you have pre-Ranger, you have the 18 X-ray prep course and stuff like that. But it's just, there's this stigma behind failure that you're not good enough. And that's not the case at all. It's that you weren't ready at that point in time, depending on what the failure was. If you quit on yourself, then that's completely different. And so my beginning of my military career, I went to BUD/S and I failed out of BUD/S. And so we got to the second night of Hell Week and they said, we're rolling you back to day one. And I was like, I'm not going back to day one. This was absolutely fucking horrible. And so I quit. And that stuck with me for so many years. That decision that I made at 4 o'clock in the morning, day two, instead of going and getting some sleep and rolling all the way back to day one and just saying, okay, because I had pneumonia and some infections and stuff like that. But instead of, that was a knee-jerk reaction. That was an emotional reaction, which is what leads to a lot of toxic leadership, is that emotional reaction to a situation. I didn't allow myself to think it through. And so I made an emotional reaction based on the way I was feeling at that time. And, 22-year-old Ryan Hendrickson and all this other stuff. And I was like, I'm not going through all that shit again. No. And they're like, well, then the only other option is this. And I was like, fuck it, I'm done. They're like, are you sure? You can go and get sleep. You've been up for 2.5 days. Like, are you absolutely sure this is what you want to do? And I made an emotional decision. That was the best decision I ever made in my life. Not because of quitting, but because I learned a valuable lesson about failing.
Yeah.
And I learned that, you can fail on yourself, or, there could have been a scenario where I just wasn't good enough. You give it everything you got. I left it all out on the table. You just don't make the cut. Like, okay, I can live with that. Let me go find something else that I am good at. Yeah. And so although paperwork says you failed, you didn't actually fail. You're just learning.
Yeah.
And so as you learn, you become stronger. And now you're more lethal. And I don't mean in the combat way. Well, it could be. But when you quit on yourself like I did, I learned one of the best lessons that has set me up for everything. And that's where a lot of my humility comes from as well, is because it's like, you know what? I know what it's like to have that feeling, to wake up that next morning. It's like, fuck, I actually did that. I totally could have rolled back to day one, got myself better, and then went through again. But I just fucking quit on myself. Yeah. And so the lessons that I learned there, again, every experience in life, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, if you use those experiences and you learn from them and you do that to make yourself stronger, then it's not a failure. And so I took that initial my first time, or the only time, when I went through buds and I quit. I took that example, and instead of beating the shit out of myself for being a quitter and a loser and all this other stuff, which I did for a while, I started to look at it and learn from it. And then when I got to special forces and I started going through that pipeline, I always had that in the back of my head. Remember, when you wake up the next morning, if you make a stupid decision right now, you're going to have to live with that the next morning. And let me tell you, like, buds was one thing, but the beat downs you get going through special forces training, like selection and stuff like that, it's not necessarily, because water is an equalizer for a lot of people. That wasn't really my weakness. But all that weight and being cold and wet and tired and hungry, cold, wet, and there's no end in sight. Like the mental games that you play on yourself. Like, for instance, our final trek, it came out to like 32 miles, whatever. And I'll never forget, at the very end, you could see all the lights. There's the finish line. And, you're like, oh my gosh, we're almost there. And you know how selection goes, take all information from the whiteboard, all that stuff. Yeah. And we're like, you're almost there. So people pick it up and you're like, wow, man, we're at 30 plus miles. Like, I can do it. And you get this strength. You just dig down deep inside and you're like, yes. And you get there and the whiteboard says, continue moving. You know how many people quit right there?
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Half of them. Yeah. And in about a half a mile, guess what came? The trucks to pick us up.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is.
They just wanted to see.
That's
they just wanted to see. And I wouldn't have had that strength if it wasn't for knowing that I'm going to have to wake up in the morning and live with my decision that I made.
Yeah.
And I learned all that from what I considered was a failure in buds, which actually made me incredibly strong and mentally tough, because I knew what it felt like to wake up the next morning and be like, fuck, I really just did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think it's too, because I have my regrets, man. Like, I should have went to Ranger. I'm not Ranger tab either, but the guys, I should have went there. I still regret that, like, you don't want to think back on that, man, and just say I should have did or could have or whatever. Because I remember looking back on it, man. I just had all these fucking excuses, like, got to go with the boys overseas, all this kind of stupid shit. And, I just wish I could do it. And then, getting out of the Army too. Then I come back to that too. Like, I know Chris about the transition here too. It's like, you just gotta, like he was saying the other, we were talking about, hey, I'm just gonna throw an application into the mix, see if I get hired. Like, don't just do it, man. Don't be scared about it, even if you don't know. Like, I mean, that's like, you gotta take that step, man. And I don't know, that is crazy though. They all quit at the.
Yeah, there's a ton of people just lined up. They're like, I'm not doing this again. And after however many hours it is, I think it's I forgot. I know when the evolution started, it just said keep walking for an undetermined distance and take all directions from the whiteboards, follow the cones, and blah 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 and all this stuff. I mean, over 12 hours, maybe 12 hours, maybe 16 hours. I don't quite remember. I know it was over 30 miles though. And that's the very end of selection. And it sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, what were we, like 50 pounds dry?
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, you just broke down and everything like that. And it was easy to let your mind play tricks on you. But for me, knowing how it felt to wake up that next morning after just making a major life decision, and understanding, like, I hated how I felt. I was like, nope, left, right, left, all the way through. It's like, continue going, left, right, left, right, left, right. And so, that's just, it set me up for success, knowing how bad that failure hurt. And so it wasn't necessarily a failure. It was a lesson learned in that part. Yeah. But yeah, for me, because everybody's path has led them to where they are right now. And so for me, I try as hard as I can not to let people live rent free in my head. And so a lot of times when people are like, I don't want to submit that application, or I don't want to do this or this, it doesn't really revolve around, oh, I'm probably not qualified. It's more about, I wonder what they're going to think.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
And yeah. And so, it's a very, very hard, it's not easy, to not worry about what people think. I don't care what anybody says. You know, you get out there and they're like, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me. You wouldn't say that unless you did. Yeah. Or unless you've struggled with it in the past. It is very, very difficult not to let people live rent-free in your head, about what they're going to think about you. And so for me, the more humble I am, the less I care about having to live up to the standard of what I want people to think about me. What I want people to think about me is I'm Ryan Hendrickson. I've done a lot of bad in my life. I've done a lot of good in my life. I happen to be, a former Green Beret in an Air Force ammo troop, which I'm extremely proud about, and a United States Navy bosun's mate, which I'm extremely proud about. Nonprofit. We help some people out, and we do some great humanitarian work overseas. There is nothing like that. That's just this mind-blowing Elon Musk about me. It's not at all. And so for me, being humble really helps me with not giving a shit what anybody thinks about me. Yeah. If that kind of makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No, it does. But it is hard. It is hard being an Army leader too, man. Like I can speak on the conventional side, right? Like, and Chris can tell you this too, because every level of leadership, it just gets harder when you try to like, hey, I'm just going to be my own person, but everybody's looking at you. Hey man, you're not Ranger tabbed, or hey man, you're not going to get this position because you don't got this. And it's like constant at every level of leadership, it gets harder. Right. Like it's harder with people looking at you, not necessarily who you are as a leader, but what you're wearing on your chest and what you got on the outside. Like, it is what it is. You go to like a conventional brigade, a dude walks in, could be a shitbird that has a Ranger tab or a Ranger scroll versus a guy that's really good, but he's not a Ranger. He walks in the Sergeant Major's office, right? The Sergeant Major's like, oh my God, this guy's a Ranger, whatever. Right. But the competition piece of it, man, is hard. So, like, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like, you have to like not let it live rent free in your head, and it did for me for a little bit, man, too, because I'm a conventional infantry sergeant major that served in an infantry battalion as a non-tab dude, right? And that's
command sergeant major, right? Like you don't see a lot of us though. We're like, usually they like to get the Ranger tab guys in there for the infantry battalions, but and I had the opportunity to do that. I felt so grateful for that. I felt like that was an accomplishment, man, but. It still was hard to fight through that part of it, So for all those leaders out there, like Ryan's saying, stay humble and just keep driving for your goal, man. And who gives a shit who else is to the left, to your right, whatever qualifications they have. It's about how you perform and who you are. So just be a good person. They don't live your life. You live your life.
Yeah.
And the reason why I can give that advice is because people used to play me like a puppet. I cared so much what other people thought about me. I'm a Green Beret and I'm not Ranger tabbed. I'm on a dive team and I didn't go to dive school. I'm all this other stuff. And I would make up all kinds of excuses. Oh, well, because I stepped on an IED, of course. Yeah, that's right. But it still wouldn't sit right with me because it was like, no, I mean, if you really, really, really wanted, you could. But I didn't really, really want to. Yeah. I had no desire to go to Ranger school, even though it's probably one of the best leadership courses under stress in the entire military, if not maybe every military in the world. Yeah. I didn't want to go. My path was other things that aren't as sexy, like being a level 3 source handler and stuff like that, because I enjoy working in those human domains. But I used to, when I came up through special forces, it was all about having, the stack, and being this sleeved up tattooed dude that can, bench 400 and whatever and squat this, and you can rock an entire fucking Humvee on your back and you just eat babies and stuff like that. I don't know. that's what I came up in, and it just wasn't functional. But I allowed my mind to be like, oh, well, I got to do all this stuff, and so no, I got it, and it's just for me. And again, it doesn't come all at once, and you will get hit with the like, shit, man, I wish, maybe I should have done that, or maybe I should do this, because they would think that I had these, and in the very end, I actually really believe, it's humility, but my mediocreness is what it helped me out, because the bigger, better, faster, stronger individuals are, the more that they feel that they have to maintain this, because if I let myself slip, athletes, whew, they are such high risk for depression and mental health issues because of this pedestal that they've put themselves on. Because in the very end, when I'm watching, said running back for whatever NFL team it is, it's like, oh man, that guy's great, or oh man, that guy sucked. The minute the game's over with, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But so when I look at it through those lens, every time I'm like, man, these people must think this about me, or they must think this or this or this. In the end, my dad told me, he's like, you're not the most important person in the room. And no offense, nobody goes home and thinks about Ryan Hendrickson. Get over yourself. I was like, damn,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
go ahead, Chris.
Real quick, you hit on a piece there, right? Talking about athletes and whatnot. To me, from what I've seen, it's not just the star athletes. There is a comparison that can be made between really any professional athlete and military, especially physical comparisons aside, right? And the physical training and everything, the mental toughness that we all put ourselves through, but specifically on the backside of the careers, when you start talking about people that, for however long that athlete does their job, their chosen sport, for however long, we wear that uniform, we have identified, more than likely, ourselves first and foremost as, Lieutenant Colonel, United States Army, Chris Rowe, or, running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Bucky Irving, whatever. And it's hard.
University of Oregon grad, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hope he has a good year Hope he has a good year this year, by the way. Hopefully.
I had to get a shot in for my Buccaneers. Okay.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, like the uncoupling of your identity from that, to then realize that there's so much more to you than whatever profession you're doing. Whether that's professional sports, military, CEO of Fortune 500 company, whatever it is, but it all comes to us at some point in time that we have to uncouple ourselves from that in order to continue to evolve and continue to grow. And a lot of people struggle with that. I was talking with Jerry the other week when I was down in Tampa visiting my daughter. I had just received my retirement orders. And I was not, I don't know why, because I've been talking about retiring for over 2 years already, and I still have a year until I retire. So by the time I retire, I will have been talking about retiring for over 3 years. When I received those orders, like, I got emotional. And it hit me in a way that I was not expecting. Because, like, almost immediately I had that aha moment. It didn't make it any easier, but I'm no longer going to be Lieutenant Colonel United States Army Chris Rowe. I'm just going to be fucking Chris Rowe. And that is a hard transition for someone to make, or at least I think it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's
special operators. And I only say special operators because that's kind of in the world I'm in.
Yeah.
so my passion is veterans mental health. I want to help veterans. That's one of the reasons why we even created the nonprofit we have. It's not to go and demine. It's not that at all. It's to have a platform where veterans can come and they can conduct humanitarian services, volunteering, helping other people out. And the reason behind it is this. So the military is really good at transitioning to a certain point. What they are not good at is replacing that sense of service and purpose. Yep. And so like in the special operations community, I used to work at this level, and I was responsible for this, and this, and I was, Green Beret, Navy SEAL, combat control, whatever it is, Army Ranger. I was all this stuff, and now I go to Applebee's on Veterans Day to get a fucking thank you for your service. Like, who am I? Because your entire identity was wrapped up into what you thought you were. And so, and I had that too. I just had it after I got blown up because I thought my career was over. Yeah. And so, when I was able to wrap my head around it, and again, valuable lessons from my dad, that is like, you are the most important person to yourself. Nobody else goes home and thinks about you. And so, but what's going on right now, exactly what you just said, I believe that is the leading cause of post-traumatic stress, is the fact that you have a lack of service, which then revolves into a lack of purpose and hope. Without service, you don't have purpose, and without purpose, you don't have hope. And so from TAPS, I think is what it's called, or whatever, to get out of the military.
SFL TAP, yeah.
Yeah, they can't give you purpose and hope post-military. And there's a lot of jobs, they'll help set you up with a job. And people are like, oh yeah, I'm so fulfilled doing this and this and this. But the conversation always goes back to what I did in the military, because that's your identity. That's your identity in the military. And so like with our nonprofit, I want to get veterans who are looking for that renewed sense of service and purpose and hope. Veterans tick a little bit differently. You can't go to the food bank and bag groceries and expect to get that sense of purpose and service. Although it's needed, that's not how veterans tick. They have to be in an environment that is somewhat similar, without getting shot in the face, that is somewhat similar to what we did on active duty. And so Ukraine, Nigeria, Burma, Syria, wherever. I will be back in Afghanistan, by the way. But you have to have something that, not kinetic. I'm not trying to, you don't want a bunch of guys getting killed, but there has to be some way that is something similar with the same excitement and the adventure to it that you did on active duty. But now all of a sudden you are taking your war fighting capabilities and you're turning them into humanitarian capabilities, because there is something extremely profound. And again, I'm not a psychologist. I guess that's what works on your brain or mind. I'm not a psychologist, but there is something extremely profound and rewarding about helping other people. I have no fucking idea what it is, but I know when I went to Ukraine, I was a mess. I was just a broken man, because my entire life revolved around that next deployment to Afghanistan, that next one. Yep. I lived, Afghanistan actually held my marriage together for a long time, because I was like, all right, just make it through to that next trip. We got 6 months and we're out again. Okay, make it through that next one. And so I lived my life deployment to deployment, and that only, 8 deployments, but then it ends at some time. And I had nothing else to fall back on. My world revolved around Afghanistan and doing all this great stuff that I thought I was doing. But in the end, I had nothing. I was empty. And so after our deployment, I was crushed when I got home, because it was like, who the fuck am I now? Like, I'm nobody. And nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares what you think you did on active duty. That title that you had on active duty, you're the fuck the person at Lowe's that are like, oh no, it's aisle 5. They don't fucking care.
They don't care.
And I had to realize that. It's like, you know who the fuck I am? My dad's like, no one cares. No one cares.
I keep trying to tell the guy at Lowe's, you don't understand. I used to be Polar Bear 6.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't fucking get it. He doesn't get it.
Ryan, I like my year mark for retirement is May 31st, right? So that'll be my first 1 year out of the Army. And you were absolutely right. And I never came out thinking I'm anybody special or anything like that. But man, it is hard the civilian world just goes. They don't give a shit about what you are. The train's going, man. You got to get on. Don't give a fuck. Nobody cares about who you are, right?
Yep.
So it's like, you can just have a banner out on the beach here in Clearwater and be like, I'm this kind of combat. They don't give a fuck, right? So, it's been hard to, luckily I've put myself in a situation where I work with other veterans like you do too. So like that's been a big help to me, but I'm still trying to find my way, man. Like I'm still like at 30, been in the Army for 30 years and I'm 52. Right. So I'm still trying to figure out what's next in my chapter, because I just closed a long chapter of my life, man. So the good part about it is like I have the flexibility to do whatever I want to do and go find things to do. Right. But yeah, you're absolutely right, man. It's incredibly hard, dude.
And like for me, when I got out, I wasn't wrapped up in what I did. Like I didn't care. I was a Green Beret. It was a job. Well, let me correct that. I'm extremely proud of the fact that I was a Green Beret, and it was, it was a great accomplishment, but my life didn't revolve around being a Green Beret. Yeah. What plagued me was I was so entitled by what I thought I deserved by what I thought I did in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. It was like, I stepped on an IED. Oh, I've lost friends. Oh, this. And it was all of this made up nonsense in my head of this victimization and entitlement. Entitlement creates victimization. And I was the most entitled victim in the world because I thought I deserved something so much more because of what I thought I did for the American people. You have no idea. Like I just stepped on an IED. I just saved your kids from what?
Yeah.
What? Stop.
That's a huge problem. I mean, it's absolutely, there's a huge problem in entitlement in the military community. I see it all the time on social media. So it's like,
this plagues soldiers.
It plagues, man. People get out. They think they're entitled to this or not. You're not, man.
I talk to veterans all the time. And it's tough love. And I talk to them out of experience. And that tough love part is this. Number one, nobody owes you shit. As of whenever they stop the draft, I don't want to throw a year out there because I'll get tore up in the comments, but whenever they stop the draft, you voluntarily did this. So number one, nobody owes you shit. Number two, what you think you did for the American people or whatnot, regardless, like, yes, you served your country, you did amazing things, and you helped for the safety and the security of the American people as a public servant, because that's what the military is. We're public servants, and our service is the safety and the security of the American people and to promote our interest around the globe. But what you think you did and this idea you have that you're owed something for this perceived notion of what you think you did, I said, that's incorrect. You have to understand, the 3 F's: feeding, financing, and fucking. If you're not doing one of those, people can tear their heart open for you. Thank you for your service. And in America, most people actually really fucking mean it. Thank you for your service. But if you're not providing one of those 3 F's, guess what, man? They don't go home and think about you because you're not paying the bills. You're not taking care of the problems. You're not supporting their family. You're not putting food on their table. And you got to quit forcing people to think about you when you go home, because what that's doing, and again, I'm talking through experience here, because what that's doing is you're pushing people away from you. Yeah. And so when I was in the hospital, I was going down a dangerous path. And my dad, He was like, look, son, you're going down a dangerous road right now. And let me tell you what's going to happen. He said, the way I see it, you're at a T section. You can't go forward anymore. You either got to make a right or you got to make a left. The way you're going right now, what you're doing is you are becoming a victim of your injury. You are allowing your injury to take you over. You are becoming your injury. And what that does is you're victimized by it, and you're going to start to demand that people understand what you went through or what you think you did for them. You're going to demand it. And then as you're not able to get that entitlement and that victimization void filled, because you cannot fill victimization void. Look at the fucking news today. Yeah. Like, our country's full of victims. You cannot fill that void, that entitlement, that victimized void. It is impossible to fill. So then what you're going to do is you're going to start to push everybody away from you. And you're going to start to alienate yourself because nobody understands, poor me, I deserve, and the entitlement and the victimization will continue to run your life. And you've pushed everybody away from yourself. And then when you still can't get that entitlement void filled, you're going to go to a substance, something to help numb it or to fill it or do it, crazy shit, whatever it is. You're going to try and do something, and it'll be reckless because you're trying to fill that void in, and it's impossible to be filled, that entitled, victimized void. And he said, you're going to then come to a point in your life when you realize that void can no longer be filled. And he said, then that's where the suicides come in at, because you have no hope. Yeah. You have no purpose. You are a victim of your own imagination, what you think you did, what you think you deserve, what your entitlement. You're a victim to your own entitlement that you created for yourself. Mm-hmm. Or you can take the other route. And what that other route is you can use these experiences in life. You can use this pain. You can use pain's the greatest lesson in the world. I have a firm belief God doesn't waste pain. It's a teacher. It's a lesson. You can take this pain. You can take all of them, what you think were mistakes, their experiences. You can take all this and you can use it to build yourself up, make yourself stronger, but don't do it for you. Do it so you can help other people through your experiences. And he said, that's how you dig yourself out of this victimized pit you've put yourself in. And this entitlement void will go away because you are using your experiences, good, bad, ugly, painful, evil, whatever they are. You're using these experiences to make yourself stronger, to help other people. And he said, that's how you get ahead. That's how you live that, or you have that content and that fulfillment in your life. That's the only way you're going to survive this, because if you take the other turn, you're going to kill yourself. Yeah. He said, those are the fucking realities. Man. And I was like, oh, damn.
Your dad's got some wisdoms, right?
Well, yeah, because
I feel like we need to get Papa Hendrickson on.
Yeah, because he was the lowest of the low in his life. I mean, there was a point when I was growing up, he attempted suicide at the bottom, shotgun. And he's pulled over on the side of the road. He had dropped my sister and I off at my uncle's house. And he's like, take care of the kids. And he's pulled over on the side of the road. And this car pulled up, asked him if he needed any help. And it was a preacher from the church. Yeah. And that was the night my dad was saved. And he didn't blow his brains out. And so it's not that he's not talking down to me. He's talking at me because he's been the lowest of the low that you could possibly be. And so he's speaking from a platform of experience, not from book knowledge or anything else like that. And so veterans, especially as they're starting to get ready to transition out, you have to make yourself human again. And it's very, very difficult, but you have to understand that you are just Ryan Hendrickson. I happen to do this as a job, and I'm extremely proud of the job that I did. And it was an honor to be a part of that job. But now, how can I use all those skills that I learned from this job, and how can I use those to do something that's going to help other people, that's going to benefit other people, or make a difference here, or help other veterans that are struggling with this mindset, anything like that? Because veterans, we are uniquely positioned to help other veterans.
Yeah, we are.
And that's that's the name of the game right there. And
Yeah,
so whether you go back as a khaki contractor and you're with the polar bears and you're trying to build up these young infantry soldiers, that's the job you do because you have those experiences. If you have the ability, you have the responsibility to help other people. So you use those experiences that God gave you and you use them to help, you know, that 18-year-old infantry private that's like, oh fuck, I don't know what to do. And it's like, no, come on, man. Let's do this together. Yeah. That's your responsibility as a leader. And leadership, it goes far past military service. And I don't know. That's just that. Yeah. That's what's helped me.
Ryan, I think your dad was good too, because I think, you know, people just got to tell it the way it is now. Mm-hmm. Like people, they beat around the bush, man. Like everybody beats around the bush because I don't want to say they're sensitive or whatever, but having someone there that can just be like, hey man, you either go left, you're gonna fucking suck, or you go right and you can really benefit your life, right? Like, yeah, we just need more of that, man. In the veteran community, you need that too. Like, hey guys, you got to figure this out, or it's gonna be bad. But I don't know. Hey, so for your found, like, you said it's a what is it called? Nonprofit, right? So yep. If a veteran wants to kind of get in contact with you and kind of want to like get involved, like how do they do that? Like, how would they do something like that? I don't know if that's a right question to ask or not. I'm sorry, but how do they do something like that?
Yeah. So they just they go to our website, which is landmineremoval.org, and they go on there and there's a support email, and they can send us an email, and we just go from there. Right now there's a lot of really exciting things coming up. We have a documentary that's coming out that I can't wait to send you guys. It'll be on Angel Studios. Have you guys ever heard of Angel Network or Angel Studios or whatever?
I've heard of it briefly, but I don't know too much about it.
Yeah, it's a really big Christian network. And also, have you guys heard of Trinity Broadcasting Network, TBN?
Mm-mm.
No. It's the world's largest Christian network, news network, or broadcasting network. It's largest in the world. I was just up in Dallas doing an interview with them and stuff like that. So this documentary is going to be on a couple platforms.
Nice.
It may be a little too Christian for Netflix and Hulu. Maybe we're going to try and pitch it, but I don't think there's enough sex and killing in it. There's no killing in it and no sex. But I think it's going to be a little too Christian for them. Maybe not. But what I'm excited about this documentary is the fact that it shows this normal guy with, a military career, the same as everybody else. I had my job. Other people have their jobs. Went to the bottom of the barrel. I dug this self-induced, victimized, entitled hole for myself that I almost couldn't dig out of, or I almost couldn't climb out of. Like, I had my line in the sand. If shit gets any worse than this, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah.
That's a very dangerous mindset. Yeah. But I had it. I'm not immune to that. I'm not better than anybody else. The listeners out there, I went down that path. I had if it gets any worse than this is what I'm going to do. And it was, it was self-select. You can't come back from that. And so digging out of that, or I'm sorry, you can't dig out of a hole, but climbing out of that hole, a very, very dangerous hole, because again, I already told everybody I had that final answer for myself. Climbing out of that hole to get to where I'm at right now. Again, I'm not doing anything that's absolutely crazy hard and amazing and all this other stuff. Nope. All I'm doing is I've just took some of the experiences that I have and I found work, something that everybody can do. But climbing out of that hole, taking control of my life again, which started with understanding that you're not the most important person in the room. You have to know that. And number two, people don't go home and think about you. Goes back to number one. You're not the most important person in the room. But what you are is you have a bunch of experiences, whether you were a cook, a postal clerk, CAG operator. And I'll throw some love out to the SEALs, Dev Grew guy, whatever. regardless of what you did, you all have different experiences that you can use that will build yourself up to make yourself stronger, to help other people. When you revolve your life around helping other people, it all of a sudden isn't about you anymore. And it's the most liberating feeling in the world, because the more you dive into helping others in that human domain, the further you get away from yourself, that entitlement, that victimization, the I'm filling all the blanks. I'm a retired Green Beret. They're like, cool story, bro. Nobody cares because you're not paying my rent.
Yeah.
The more you revolve your life around helping other people, whether it's, like what we do in Ukraine, or it's helping veterans here in the state, or I'm sorry, in the States, the more you revolve your life around helping other people, the more your life is less revolved around yourself. And it's the most freeing, like liberating feeling in the world. But it first starts with understanding that you're not the most important person in the room.
Yeah.
And that's what arguably could have saved my life. Yeah.
Yeah. I tell you, man, I see you doing these things there. You just like, I think I put on one of my Facebook posts, it's all about just being a good person. Like, just be a good human being, man. Like, if you have good values and you care about, you have a passion for something, obviously your passion is saving a lot of lives over Ukraine, which is really, really incredible. Right. But but you don't, like you said, you don't do it for yourself. Like, you do it for, it's overall big thing about your big picture and all that kind of stuff. But to me, it's incredible, man, of what you guys are doing over there. And like, I see all the videos. I can't wait to watch. I'll watch that movie. I'll post it or do what I got to do. I don't know what it's going to be, but
absolutely.
We'll make sure it gets on here. Maybe, we'll have you on sometime and talk about it again, but
there's something really powerful about love your neighbor like you love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so we hear it all the time. It's like, oh yeah, love your neighbor like you, okay, yeah. But when you actually, and I'm probably saying the verse completely wrong, my bad, but the foundation is there. When you actually learn, and so when you're looking into that, and it's like, okay, to love other people as much as I love myself, or as much as, God loves me, to love people in that same way, that it's not just about this emotional feeling of love, but what that does is it liberates you from having to prove yourself or to be at this pedestal because of what you think you are or what you think other people view you as. It's it's extremely liberating. And so that's, for me, it's important. And I'm not, I grew up outside of Eugene, Oregon, but I'm not a granola eating, Birkenstock wearing hippie. I'm not a shaman or anything like that. I'm still a dude. I'm a redneck. I'm a country boy. I do, I do what I do. But the lessons that I've learned from being at the lowest of the low in my life, where my only other option was to kill myself. The lessons that I've learned from that is, number one, like I've already said, I'm not the most important person in the room. Other people, they don't go home and they think about me. You build things up so much bigger than they are in your head. And once you realize all that, and then you understand you're just a part of something, and then you can couple that with, love your neighbor as yourself. And you start to take that pressure off you. Veterans put so much pressure on themselves to try to live up to whatever the standard is they think they came from. That pressure is what is causing so much of the mental health problem. And that pressure comes from lack of service, which is purpose and hope. That's that pressure where veterans are making really, really bad and unfortunately unchangeable decisions.
Yeah.
And so you got to take that pressure off yourself. And the first step to taking that pressure off yourself is understanding you're not the most important person in the room.
Yeah.
You're a part of something. Be the solution. Be a part of something.
I think you posted a video a ways back where you guys, it looked like you guys are out there, I don't know, all day. I don't know, you're like just clearing all kind of mines, man. I don't know how you must have got a fast course on all these different mines or whatever. But I think you showed like you guys cleared, you did some stuff, and then you showed the farmer like doing his like getting to work, right? Based off what you guys did. So I think that's like really, really cool that now you're giving those families and those people that, you know, can get back their way of life by, you know, you're crawling through the on the ground with your mind. I don't know, like doing the old poke stuff through the mines or whatever. But like seeing you do that, man, and then just seeing that farmer's like tractor, you know, when he's got to get back to work was pretty awesome, dude. You know.
Well, I mean, God gives everybody abilities. My ability is I can find landmines. I can step on them or find them with a detector, but I can find them. But I do believe I'm such a firm believer. If you have the ability, you have the responsibility to help others, to teach others, to do for others. And again, I mean there's so much liberation and freedom in that lifestyle. You know, because if everybody is doing something to help somebody else, everyone is now doing their little part to leave this world just a little bit better than when we came in. And if we have that mindset, wow, imagine what the world could be. Yeah.
I mean, because you've seen it, Ryan. You've seen that, but there's probably there hasn't been a battlefield like that in forever. Like just the suffering and stuff that's happening, man. Like
I've never seen anything like it.
I know, like I mean, I haven't been there, but I've seen stuff. I do my homework and study, but the stuff that's there, and you know, obviously the people are transitioning. Warfare is transitioning, and the amount of destruction that happens to all these families and stuff that's just incredible, you know. So again, guys, if you're watching this, you need to get on there and check out Ryan's doing, because it's something, you know, he's disregard, like he's out there doing it, man, and risking it for people that he don't even know, you know. So that's just who he is, man. It's pretty awesome.
But again, Ryan, you said it. I just want to say it again and again and again. Landremoval.org.
No, landmine removal.org.
Yes, landmineremoval.org. So please, veterans, friends, if y'all are interested, please go check it out.
Do they have to have any kind of training if they want to do anything? You put them through like some sort of training course or something if they volunteer to come work as like a veteran?
So I mean, there's some requirements to it. We can take a veteran that's never seen a landmine before, but we send them through the international mine action course there in Kyiv. And so it's 4 weeks long. You come out, you're Ukrainian mine action certified. I went through the course. It's a great course. You're Ukrainian mine action certified, and then you're legally able to work on the fields in Ukraine with accredited organizations. So there are some things that, you know, you have to do.
Yeah, of course.
But like, we're not just, you know, I kind of pigeonholed our whole nonprofit by calling it Tip the Spear Landmine Removal. I should have called it like Tip the Spear. We do all kinds of stuff, because it's not just that. Like, veterans have come over to teach English, work mechanics or welding or reconstruction, agriculture revitalization, all kinds of stuff like that, to drive a freaking bus around. Like, I just, Tip the Spear Landmine Removal. For some weird reason, people think we just remove landmines. I don't really know where they get that from.
Well, it's all the videos.
That's because that's what I do. But there's so much more to it, because I want to have a place where veterans can come and, they can go to Ukraine for 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 89 days, usually, unless you're going to mess around with the visa situation, you got to be out by 90 days. Veterans want to come over and it's like, we got a platform for that. What do you want to do? Okay. Yeah. Well, let me hook you up with this nonprofit over here. They do reconstruction.
Nice.
Oh yeah. You want to work on someone's farm? Okay, cool. Let's hit the Rolodex. Yep. This farmer would love to have you come out. What skills you got? Yeah, man, let's do it. And it's just amazing, because now you got U.S. veterans, and our Ukrainian team is all Ukrainian veterans. And so you have these two veteran groups that there is a language barrier, but you're working together. and it's the same mindset. It's the same, struggles. The Ukrainian veterans, it's insane. They talk about the same shit that we talk about. It's like, now what? I used to do this, and now who am I? Like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna go be a fucking barista. It's like, I was just killing Russians. Like, now, like, who am I? And I'm just like, dude, I get it, bro. I get it. And so there's just this fellowship and this bonding, and you're doing it with your different veteran groups, Ukrainian veterans in this case. And it's just there's just some healing power when you're working together and you've bonded, and it's healing for the Ukrainians, it's healing for the Westerners. You just like, man, I'm doing something that means, something. There's very few people that get satisfaction. Like post-service guys will go into a contracting job, and you're just like, the money's great, but it's just it's just kind of like, there's something more. Yeah. When you're helping other people, no, it's pretty hard to beat it.
Just the people you're meeting, man. How good you're Ukrainian? You getting better at it, or
I actually speak Russian. So
is that your language in 7th group?
No, it was Spanish, but where I work at in Ukraine, the majority all speak Russian. So Kharkiv is toward, it's my apartment's 25 kilometers from the Russian border. There's just, most people, speak Russian in that area. And regardless of what, people are saying about the news, like, they outlawed speaking Russian in Ukraine. It's not the case at all. Yeah, they would prefer you speak Ukrainian, because it's like, hey, you're in Ukraine, speak Ukrainian. Well, yeah, I can relate with that. You're in America, fucking speak English. I got it. It makes a lot of sense to me. But they also understand, a lot of the people that are coming over to help know Russian, because it's just a more predominant global language than Ukrainian is. Yeah. And so for me, when I'm around Russian speakers all day long, it's just, that's what I picked up. So speaking and understanding Russian is just that, over 2.5 years in Ukraine, I'm dumb, but not that dumb.
I was gonna say, man, that's crazy. Like, is it a hard language to pick up? They always sound like they're yelling when they talk.
No, Russians? No. It's a fascinating language. Ukrainian's fascinating language. It's a lot harder, but for me, I mean, yeah, немного по-русски я немного говорю по-русски, но я много понимаю по-русски. So I speak a little bit, but I understand a lot.
Yeah.
And I just survival, because when I was first going over there, guess what? They're like, who speaks English here? Like, you're in fucking Ukraine, bro.
Yeah.
They're like, damn. So there's a lot of pointy talkie. And it's like, hey, we got drones coming in. It's like, well, I learned what divide, means go. We're having to get into, the cover or something like that. And, you just learn survivability language, and, you have, different translation apps that'll help you out. But you want that interpersonal skill. You need to show them that you're trying to adapt to their language and their custom, even though, I got it. Ukrainian language is, for Ukraine, but the people in the East, they don't care. Speak Russian, speak Ukrainian, just speak to me.
Yeah.
And they understand that, a lot of Westerners that are coming in there, they're going to know Russian before they're going to know Ukrainian, just because that's the way it is.
Yeah. Dang. Mm-hmm. Can you hear the noises of the battlefield at night sometimes, or is it just?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, I can send you guys tons of videos. Shit, drones flying by the apartment. I got a 10th floor apartment, one of the taller buildings in Kharkiv City. Like, and of course, when the air alarms go off, I go straight to the window with my cell phone instead of going to a bunker, because I'm just like, cool, dude. And or I've been on Minefields where it's like that. it's like that scene in Saving Private Ryan where they're coming up over the ridge and you see all the flashes in the distance and you can hear the explosions from way far off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's daily in some of the areas we go to. You just hear artillery back and forth and stuff like that, and you're just like, huh, and like Shahed drones flying overhead. People are like, oh, Shahed drone. It's like, if we're a target, we're fucked anyways. But we're not the target. And it's just like, cool. Now doesn't mean don't do your due diligence or to be ignorant about it. But I mean, we're very careful with areas we go to. I have friends that are in different intelligence organizations in Ukraine and be like, hey man, we're thinking about coming over here. And they can be like, yeah, that's good. Or do not go there.
Yeah.
We do our due diligence. I don't run around blind, like the missionaries in Afghanistan, like, we're going to convert the Taliban to Christianity. We're heading to Panjwai, District Kandahar province. We're going to make them all Christians. I wouldn't do that if I were you. It's not an ignorance thing, because I also believe that, God gives you common sense. And so with that common sense, like, use it. Because you can get up to heaven and be like, wow, why didn't you protect me? And he goes, I did. Those hairs on the back of your neck? Tried to tell you, don't be stupid.
Yeah.
But the same thing in Ukraine. I mean, it's just, we use common sense. We use the tools and the networks and the friendships that we have to, hey guys, what about this? And when we're out on the field, I'm not just out there. No. There's a bunch of Ukrainian organizations that know we're there. The state emergency services, they know we're there. State, different state demining organizations, they know we're there. I just there's so many levels that people don't see on the videos because it's boring. It's like, oh wow, look at how he plans a mission, or wow, here's a landmine. But
do you guys keep track of numbers of how much you cleared? Like, what do you guys look like if you're out there for a week or something? Is it pretty decent amount of?
It depends on the contamination of the field.
Yeah.
It completely depends. You can have a field that has 20,000 PFM1 PFM1 butterfly mines on it, and you're not moving fast anywhere.
Damn.
Or you can go to a field that's just TM62 anti-tank mines that aren't booby trapped, and you can fly through those. Now, for the listeners out there, don't crucify me. We go by our SOPs, standard operating procedures. We're extremely smart about what we're doing, but the level of the contamination on the field will depict how fast you can go.
Yeah. It's going to be years to clear that thing, man.
Hundreds of years, if ever.
Oh my God. And like you said too, like that's like people should just look into what, mines, like for the rest of the world, not just Ukraine, so.
Yeah. And you got to think, for every one landmine, there's probably 5 UXOs.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I was, we were operating, in an area in 2022. It was July 2022, and we were probably about 5K from the Russian frontline positions, and we were doing what's the best way of putting it? We were doing our job.
Yeah.
And it was like, being that close to where the Russian positions were at and everything like that. And I got sidetracked because I was trying to think of what.
Yeah. You know what though, Ryan? Like, I think about fresh GWAT guys too. You've been out there. I just couldn't imagine the battlefield as it is today during the time when we were in like Afghanistan or something. Like just being on patrol and like shit just flying at you and you can't hide anywhere. That's incredible.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah. Thank you for the shit flying at you part. So we were in this location relatively close to Russian positions doing a job for that deployment. And I remember that we got spotted in a cemetery. I was like, oh, wow, this is a great place to die. We got spotted in a cemetery, and I have videos of it, but the rounds were coming in, and they hadn't bracketed us in yet. They were still a couple 100 meters off, stuff like that. but it was like they would come in and dud, 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 one explosion, dud, 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 dud. And I remember, I think it's even on video. I was like, man, someone needs to check this lot because these are really, really bad. But that's normal because they're, the Russians were emptying out their stockpiles.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, so for every 15 that comes in, one would go off. That's how many UXOs there are. And there's millions.
Yeah.
Millions.
That's
and so,
crazy.
yeah, when people are like, Ukraine's the most contaminated country in the world, it's the absolute truth.
Yeah.
Because
did you just start with yourself? Was it just you and someone else? And now you're probably huge. You probably got a big group of people. I don't know, but
no. We're small. We're a small Western footprint.
Oh shit.
But no, 2022. I was with the Territory Defense Unit, and we were doing good things. We were doing stuff, and but now, no, it unfortunately it all depends on funding.
Of
whether like we can bring veterans over, but do we have the funding for it? Do we have number one, plane tickets is huge. Number two, accommodations. And so, like, do we rent a house for 60 days that have 5 bedrooms? Do we, whatnot? And then you got food, then you got fuel, then you got all this other stuff, and it adds up. So a 60-day mission for one veteran, I mean, you're looking at 12 to 15 grand.
Jeez, dude.
And so, because then again, the veteran can't come over for free. They still got bills that they got to pay. So they'll get, they'll get a daily amount like $200 a day or something like that, which should keep the lights on at home because again, we are volunteers, but you're not, you shouldn't have to come out here and take that hit financially at home. And so $200 seems to be the magic number for you being able to continue paying the bills, send money, or not send money, probably already goes to your wife's account anyways, but she now has money for the grocery store, food, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, you're not going to go broke with us, but you're not going to have a yacht on the Mediterranean either.
Yeah.
Because we're not a contract company. What we do if we were contractors that's a $2,000 a day kind of thing.
Yeah.
But unfortunately we don't, number one, we're a nonprofit. Number two, we're not a contract vehicle. We're a nonprofit. Now we're starting to set up a contract vehicle because there's a lot of jobs out there that people don't want a nonprofit on, because when you send money to a nonprofit, what are you doing? You're donating.
Yeah.
And so whether I do the mission you think I'm going to do or not, you donated that money. Or I can hire you, and now you work for me.
Yeah.
And a lot of organizations want to hire people because they can hold you accountable. Yeah. And so we're like, cool, man. We got Tip the Spear Threat Reduction Group, which is a for-profit, and Tip the Spear Landmine Removal, which is a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. I haven't dove into the for-profit world yet. We're just getting started because the nonprofit world is just trash right now. Many nonprofits are closing their doors because of the situation going on, and I got it. But as far as the for-profit thing goes, I'm hoping to make those connections and to start gaining steam, and that could take you everywhere. Syria, for example, there's a lot of for-profit work there, but unfortunately in the mine action world, there's also a lot of for-profit mine action organizations that, it would be better to subcontract for them than to set up your own, because now you're just going to get destroyed. Yeah. And so now it's trying to find those prime vehicles that we can subcontract for, than it is to try and, make a name for myself like 2003 Blackwater. It's just not, I don't care to create an empire. I care to remove landmines out of the ground. And so if we can do that as, subcontract for somebody big, then great. If not, then great. And if we can continue to get funding for our nonprofit ventures and continue to bring veterans over to Ukraine and hopefully coming up soon, Nigeria, then great. And if not, then great. But I have no stress. I have no pressure on myself. It's just,
If I want to donate, I just go to your website. If somebody
the
that.
landmineremoval.org.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. And I think before we finish this whole thing up, I got to throw the offer out there. You guys are more than welcome.
I know. I've been thinking about it.
Yeah. It is. It is super easy. People look at, he's working in Ukraine and, he must have all these connections and blah, 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 and all this. I do now, but when I first went over there, I fucking got a plane ticket and I went.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was going to expect. I'm not this Dora the Explorer traveler. Like, I was like, all right, I guess I'll go over here.
I'm just attracted to the purpose, man. Like what you guys are doing. It's an awesome thing to do, bro. And like, I'm kind of like, I'm in that world now. I'm figuring out what I'm doing. I'm still learning, trying to get what's my next chapter, but yeah, it would just be awesome, bro. But, yeah, man. Hey, so I guess we'll just close this out real quick because I know we got 2 hours and 30 minutes on here. So, Ryan, is there anything you would like to say to the watchers out there, Ryan, or any closing comments or anything for anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that comes out of this, takeaway from this entire conversation is to understand that there's so much life after the military, because I feel that we were really focused on military and post-military in this conversation, and there's just so much life after the military, and this is an extremely big change if you make it extremely big. But if you understand that this was a portion of your life, and again, like I retired and I was extremely proud of the service and what I did for my country that I love dearly, but it was still a job, and I'm still just Ryan Hendrickson. And so understanding that, having that kind of humbleness to you, being humble is everything, because when you get out, nobody owes you shit. And if you're not providing something that is going to sustain somebody else, either life or limb or safety or whatever, they can say thank you for your service all they want. But when they go home, nobody thinks about you. You're not the most important person in the room. So find something that makes you important to yourself. And it can't be based off of what you think others want you to do. It has to be based off of what fulfills you. I highly recommend, relationship with God. That's what saved my life. But it has to be based off of something that is fulfilling for you, because you can never please everybody. And the person that everybody likes, he never stood for a fucking thing.
Yeah.
You have to stand. You have to be for yourself. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody goes home and thinks about you, and you're not the most important person in the room. Now, use that, and now find something that you're passionate about. And it usually revolves around helping other people, but find something you're passionate about that makes you whole, that you feel proud of yourself, that you look in the mirror and you're like, you know what? Hell yeah. I did it. This is what I'm proud of, regardless of what anybody else thinks. Nobody cares. I'm proud of myself when I look in the mirror. Once you find that, then pursue it, because the world's a giant fucking playground. You just have to have the courage to go play. Yeah. That's it. Nobody's stopping you except for yourself. And I think, take it or leave it, for the listeners, but that would be my advice. And it doesn't come from me knowing all. It's come from I've been there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll say a couple words and turn over to Chris, but I think this was a great conversation, man. I know there's a lot of things that you told already on social media. But I think, getting into the experience piece and the humbleness and the leadership aspect, especially for the guys that watch our pod, we have a lot of younger guys, a lot of young leaders and stuff that, will jump on here and listen to what you got to say. And, it's a great example to have someone like you tell. So you've been there, man. I can't think of anybody more experienced in what they've done over their career, man. And I know it's not over for you, but we appreciate it. I enjoyed this conversation. I thought it was really, really good. So
me too.
Yeah. I just, be safe, man. Like I know you're still putting, your life at risk going over there for others. And that, to me, it's amazing, dude. I just can't, it gets me a little bit of emotion on that, because I think that's awesome. So, thank you again for coming on. Hopefully we get you on again some other time and talk some other stuff, get some other people on here, and you're always welcome to come on. And I know we're small, like I always say, we're like we're a little fish in a shark tank full of podcasts, right? So
yeah, but who cares about those other podcasts?
Yeah.
This was a great conversation because we're friends.
Yeah.
We have history together, stuff like that. Yeah, none of that other shit matters. Like it really doesn't. And I can guarantee you the Sean Ryans and the Joe Rogans and the Jockos and all the other stuff, they would say the same thing.
Yeah.
You do you, and it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
We try to have our own personality, man. We try to do what you got to do. We try to be good people and have good people on. So thanks again, man, for coming on. And I'll turn it over to the commander for last words.
Hey, so I think y'all said it best.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to leave it there at that. All I'm going to say, Ryan, is thank you. Thank you for, more importantly, not just coming on this, but doing what you do. The guidance, the mentorship, the leadership that you've provided me personally. The inspiration that you provide others. Please don't stop. And then the last thing I'll say, for everybody that's listening, please like and subscribe. Okay. It helps us continue to do what we're doing. So get on there, make sure you hit that like and that subscribe button. Hey, Ryan, look, I'm going to go ahead and say it now. When your documentary comes out, please let us know, so we can watch it. And then I'm going to say we're going to get you back on the show to talk a little bit more about it after your documentary comes out.
Absolutely. No, yeah, let's do it.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, again, I'll say one thing, please like and subscribe. We got a lot of viewers clicking on the videos, but we're not getting a lot of subscribes. So it just helps us out. We're growing. So guys, thank you so much for spending a couple hours with us as we went through this with Ryan. It was an incredible episode, and we'll talk to you guys later. See ya.